minutes and not even were able to discuss it with the referee to do it. But they will call me. That time they wanted to explain to me.
Guardiola wants to know why Erling Haaland was deemed offside and interfering as he jostled with Malik Chow. Eddie Howe's not happy with the officials either.
Probably like to focus more on the fact we had 10 men when they scored their first goal, because I just don't get that rule. JJ's gone down with a head injury after getting elbowed in the head, and we get punished. We get punished for that. I don't see that that's right.
Howe says going 2-0 down to City is a body blow, but not fatal for Newcastle. The return leg's in 3 weeks' time. Tonight, Chelsea are home to Arsenal, live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. Liam Rosenior says he'll speak to Axel Disasi and Raheem Sterling about their futures. They were frozen out under Enzo Maresca. Conor Gallagher has passed his medical at Spurs. That's out of a £34.6 million move. Now, the police chief responsible for banning Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv from Villa Park in November has said sorry for presenting MPs with false evidence. Craig Guilford's blamed the use of AI, but says there was no intention to mislead politicians. And Live Golf's poster boy Bryson DeChambeau says he has no plans to follow Brooks Koepka back to the PGA circuit. John Rahm is in the same boat.
Yeah, man, I'm not planning on going anywhere. I wish Brooks the best. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm focused on the league and my team this year, and hopefully we can repeat as champions again.
More on this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The government's promising big transport plans for the north of England, but will ministers stick to them? And it turns out more people are watching content on YouTube than the BBC. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the winter weather, Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres. Guaranteed for 25,000 miles. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
A dry day for most of us, bright and cold, but rain across Northern Ireland moving into western Scotland. Wet across the far south this afternoon as well.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Manchester City hold a 2-0 lead over Newcastle in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Is the tie all but done? Did the recent VAR-free weekend show just how good we had it? Meanwhile, a Manchester derby, the best or the worst start for Michael Carrick. Also today, where is the line when attempting to put off your opponent? Do all wounds heal with time? Should football clubs assess their position on X? Do the Ashes need levelling up? And can Arsenal get over their semi-final hump under Arteta tonight? Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So I take it the reason you two were deep in conversation the other side of the glass there was because of this upcoming paddle tennis tie when Danny Murphy is partnering Simon Jordan on Friday. Have I heard this right?
You have. I don't want to let him down, do I?
Now, where is this happening? Why is it happening? Who are you playing?
I've been trying to get him to play paddle for ages.
Yeah.
Simon kindly invited me, and I said I would, and then I've put it off a while. Reluctant.
And he's got involved now. And Adam Booth, the boxing trainer, who thinks he's a good paddle player and isn't, has got involved and got bashed up. So we've let him off the loose.
Oh, have you beat him? I didn't.
Bashed him, useless.
Right.
And now Danny's in the fold. And being a natural athlete and being a good golf player, he'll have all the component parts.
Well, I don't think golf's that relevant. Maybe
no, it is,
I played tennis for a while.
If you can play golf, you can play tennis. You hit a ball on the way back.
And
the same way.
If you can play golf, you can play tennis.
It's about the hand-eye coordination.
Oh, is it? I see. Okay. But I thought you chucked paddle tennis recently.
Tossing the caber is not the same thing, I guess.
Did you not chuck paddle tennis recently because you suddenly decided you were crap at it?
I'd said.
And who are we playing?
We're playing a couple of colleagues of mine that are good players. One of them is.
All right. Danny, my money's on you, mate.
He's on my side. So you can't pitch us against one.
No, but you need all the help you can get. I think Danny could come out of this smelling of roses.
Let's not get too carried away.
All right, we shall
fill you in
back next week. Yes, very much so. I look forward to hearing the outcome of that. A lot to get through this morning. Of that, there is no doubt. I watched it last night. There was a kind of inevitability, Danny, to it. I felt when Manchester City got their noses in front against Newcastle, I thought, yeah, this is going to be difficult for Eddie's boys now.
Yeah, I think Newcastle missed an opportunity. When you look at a City team, they had two young lads at centre-half, O'Reilly sitting in front of them. You know, Newcastle at home, they beat them there in the league. They're generally very good at home. I thought it was a wasted opportunity in some respects. I don't think Newcastle played that badly, actually, but City have got so much strength in depth. They've got players off the bench. They just got the job done, didn't they? They're experienced. They've got a great record in semi-finals. It's done now, 2-0 at home. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So they got the job done, so the tie's over, Simon.
Well, you asked me yesterday who wins the game. I declined to answer who won the game yesterday, but I said City win the tie.
Yeah,
the fact they've won the 2-0, they've got 2-0 at St James's Park, just goes to the conclusion that I thought was going to be there anyway. I mean, Newcastle had chances. If Wissa scores early in the game, which he should do, it's a different game. But he didn't, and they went on, and then we listened to some old rubbish from Pep Guardiola at the end of it.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that rubbish in a wee moment, because I'm glad you mentioned that, Simon. Eddie Howe, of course, has got to make the right noises, but it's going to be tough for Newcastle. The second leg at the Etihad on the 4th of February. Under Eddie, Newcastle have never won or scored a goal at the Etihad. His record, their stats, sorry about this, Eddie, your record as you know it, played 5, lost 5, scored none, conceded 14. But Eddie says they're still in it.
We're still alive, we're still in there fighting. It's very difficult to turn it round, but it's still possible, and football can conjure up some magical moments. Last year we were on the other side of the scoreline. We went to Arsenal, won 2-0 in that game. We felt we're still very much alive. It was all about the next goal in the tie, really, and I think that's going to be the case in this one. If we can get the next goal, we're still very much in it. And I think we saw enough today to say that we can be competitive, and we didn't feel we're at our absolute best physically. But I still think we caused them problems, so we're going to have to go with that same mindset again.
The thing that springs to mind for me, Danny, this morning, if I'm being honest, if Eddie doesn't claim a major prize of Champions League qualification or a trophy like he's done before, will this season have a feeling of indifference for Newcastle?
Maybe a little bit. I suppose a lot depends on how deep they go in, you know, the Europe. They're in Europe, aren't they? Am I getting confused?
Yep.
Yeah. And also their league form for the second half of the season. Look, if you look at the League Cup in isolation, they've got to the final twice, won it once, and the semi-final this time. That's consistent. That's good.
Yeah.
And I think overall the squad's got better. Competition for places is better. They are flattering to deceive a little bit, especially away from home in the Premier League, but there's not too many disgruntled Newcastle fans. I think they understand Eddie's predicament, the club's predicament in terms of PSR, financial fair play, whatever you want to call it. Ultimately, Newcastle are in a better place than a lot, and I think the team's underperforming a little bit, but overall...
Away from home specifically.
Yeah, specifically. Overall, I wouldn't be a despondent Newcastle fan. I'd still be positive about it. He's a great manager. He's a good manager.
Yeah, so much for Newcastle. They've got it all to do, but they know that. 2 goals, Simon, and 2 for Antoine Semenyo. I mean, he could be the difference maker for Manchester City.
Possibly. It's a wonderful position to be in as a football club, that you can pretty much look around and see the best players that are available and buy them whenever it suits you. And that's a luxurious position to be in, and a position that Man City find themselves in. And he's a very good player. And I'm not surprised he's slotted straight into that side, because he's a good player that was doing very well at Bournemouth, which doesn't have the same embarrassment of riches in talent and opportunity that Man City has. And he's gone straight into a side, and good players excel. And that's what he does. And City are a good side.
Yeah.
I still think they're not, despite the performance that Arsenal put in against Liverpool, I still think Arsenal were the best team in the Premier League, although they didn't show it against Liverpool.
Yes,
and I still think that they won't, that irrespective of how much City's engines appear to be revving again, I don't think that they will win the Premier League. I think Arsenal will.
Right.
But the League Cup they can have if they want.
Do you know the thing about Semenyo, if you watch him? The first goal was a great example. So many wide players don't get in the middle of the pitch.
Inside.
When the ball's on the other side,
scores goals.
how many times you see wide men just stuck? Yeah.
That's why he scores goals.
And he's always in good positions centrally.
Yeah.
And that means good runs, hard work. I mean, he's got a great shot on him as well. He scores wonder goals, but he gets goals by getting into really good areas. So many wide players' numbers aren't good enough.
That's what Wilfried Zaha didn't do enough of at times. when he was playing at Palace.
Yeah, because a lot of wingers think beating people and getting crosses and looking good is
almost inevitably. We're going to talk about VAR.
Yeah.
I mean, City were 1-up. They eventually won the game by 2-0. But City were 1-up. And Semenyo felt he should have had a second goal last night. A 6-minute VAR check disallowed his flick in at the corner. Replay showed that part of Haaland's leg was in an offside position. Chris Kavanagh, the referee, was instructed to go to the pitch side monitor, which he did, protocol for subjective offside decisions. The decision then came down to the subjective question of whether or not Haaland was interfering with play as he mixed in with the Newcastle goalkeeper, Nick Pope. But the semi-automated offside technology failed originally, hence further delay. So the short and all of it is, it was a 5-minute 30 delay before they got to the decision, which I think we're all agreed was the right decision. But post-match, Guardiola went on a fairly weird VAR rant referencing their previous defeat at St James's Park back in November.
I would like to know why VAR in the 60 minutes in the Premier League game against Newcastle that we lost 2-1 with 0-0. It was an insane penalty for Sharp for Phil Foden, not even say in consideration. And at 20 minutes, there is an unbelievable penalty for the shoot for Jeremy Doku that Theo fell in the hand, and not even VAR. Today, 4 people were not able to decide because the line was, I don't know, but the second goal, the Newcastle scored, that was perfect. It was perfect, the line. So I said, but I'm not suspicious of that in 10 years. So I didn't say anything when we lost 2-1 here. No. I didn't say anything when FA Cup final against Crystal Palace is red card after 30 or 40 minutes for Anderson. He played 52nd minutes, it's really a red card. Did I say anything? No. But, okay, it's fine. But the fact that we don't say, I'm pretty sure Howard Rapid is going to call me tomorrow to take an explanations on that.
What is the point of that? I mean, he must have a long memory referencing all these VAR decisions.
Well, as Danny and I
what essentially is he saying, Simon, other than, you know what, officialdom's got it against Manchester City now and again?
Well, I mean, I listened to him last night, and I listened to I could barely wade through, which was Jamie Redknapp and Mika Richards making very little sense. Dan Burn not wanting to contribute too much because it was talking about Newcastle. But I listened to what he said. First of all, in the second interview, in the second press conference he did after he'd done the pitch side stuff or the live stuff after the game, he didn't even know who Howard Webb's name was. So I'm not entirely sure why we're thinking Howard Webb's going to call him if he doesn't even know who he was. In the previous interview, I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, it is nonsense that there's an agenda, because if you'd have to suggest that all the referees, that all the different officials have gotten together and decided that Man City are too big for their boots, and they're going to give them consequences in FA Cup finals and in league games, because that's what people have set out to do.
Yeah,
I think it's childish, but Pep Guardiola is an elite manager. They do things for a reason. The guys on Sky last night were ruminating that it creates a narrative in the minds of officials. Oh, we better watch out because Pep's alluding to a conspiracy theory.
I think there's a degree of truth in that.
Do you?
The latter bit.
You think that he creates a narrative in the mind of others?
Well, Fergie was brilliant at getting money over the years, berating refs, and all of a sudden they're at Old Trafford, and, broke every record of not getting pens and stuff like that.
But he was a bully.
Yeah, but that's the similar thing in terms of verbal diarrhea there. The reality is, Simon's right. There's no conspiracy theory against any club. All the officials are trying to do the best.
How about accept the decision?
Well, accept mistakes. If it is one, that's subjective, but you've got to accept them.
I heard Brazil and McCoy's going on this morning about how long it took, and this is insufferable how long it took.
Well, it is.
5 minutes,
but that is right. That is right.
It shouldn't take 5.
The average check that VAR makes is what? Give me a rough idea.
No clue.
2 minutes?
40 seconds.
Yeah. And
there have been 16,000 checks since it came in.
Yep.
Does it get more right than wrong? Yes. Is this an exception? Pretty much so. We once had an 8-minute check in the FA Cup, Bournemouth against Wolves. 8 minutes. But does it get to the right decision?
But you're presenting a pragmatic argument, and what you're saying is steeped in substance, right? Right. When you're dealing with people in other sections of the media, you listen to those guys last night, and I'm sorry to pick on Jamie and Mika, right? But they talk drivel, and they don't back up what they're saying. They say, nothing about this has enhanced the game. Why do we have VAR? Why is it that we asked VAR to be implemented? Because managers and the pundits consistently and endlessly complained about the inability to referees to be able to make decisions in a fast-paced game, and technology needs to be brought in. Now technology has been brought in, which is still being interacted with human beings. We're now characterising it a certain way and creating another narrative, which is, we're now using terminologies in certain sections of the media about subjective decisions. That's a new terminology being brought in by the media to weaponise it against VAR and to turn around and say that it's not doing our game any good. When they can make an argument, and I agree with them, you cannot have 6 minutes to make a decision.
When you say the media, you mean pundits?
I mean certain sections of the media, because I'm very good at globalising it.
Former players.
Certain people. Well, certain pundits, certain presenters, certain people that have a view inside the media, which is not backed up by substance. I mean, clearly VAR makes more decisions correctly than it makes incorrect ones, and so it should.
Yeah. The question is with this particular one, is it incompetence? What could they have done different? What could they have done better? The reality is, when you've got VAR, which we have, you're going to get this on occasion. It's going to happen. And you've got to accept it and stop that afterwards, because thinking there's some sort of conspiracy, it's just ridiculous.
Do you know what happened last night, Simon? The semi-automated offside technology failed.
Right.
It failed.
Apparently.
So they ended up having...
So the fullback...
Well, there's no about what. If you're saying apparently you think that's a bit of a conspiracy,
Tech
theory then, Danny.
Well, maybe, but
Tech can fail. It failed. So they had to draw.
Out,
so they had to draw the lines.
yeah, but when they used to draw the lines, it didn't take.
So the fullback position is, you've got a fullback position in terms of if your tech fails, you go to this. But now what we're talking about is, I think that people want to get control of. They want to rewrite the rules. Now what they're arguing about is the morality of a subjective decision, or the idea of it's not in the spirit of the game. The fact is, it was technically right, is what the argument was last night.
Well,
but is it right, really? Well, the rules are the rules. So on one hand, you don't want referees to be subjective. When it suits your argument, you want them to be subjective. When you run the argument, they've never played the game, so they can't see what's happening in the pitch, so that you're encouraging subjectivity. When you introduce subjectivity, you don't want that either. So the bottom line is no one can win and no one will accept.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
That's the problem. That's a problem. And many people, I notice, are harping back to the FA Cup weekend that we've just had, when, of course, there was no VAR.
It was nice.
VAR
It was
free
nice.
weekend. It was nice. Why was it nice?
Well, because even for what I do, I mean, I did Tottenham Villa, for example. And when you're watching the game and analysing it, and you see it, and you go, and it's just done. The decision.
It's done, yeah. Was that right? I don't know, but let it go through.
No, but you know what I mean.
There's no VAR.
The flow felt better. And if someone made a great example, you know, the giant killing from Macclesfield against Palace.
Yeah.
When the lad has a nudge at a Palace defender, but then wins the header and scores.
Yeah.
Because the linesman and the ref haven't, the fans and the players have that magical moment.
I don't know.
That's always been
5 minutes 30 last night. So blinking what? Was it the right decision? Yeah.
It is.
How about getting the decisions right? How about just settling for the right decisions? Am I wrong? I don't know. The free VAR weekend there, yeah, it did come and go in the FA Cup. No doubt many people enjoyed it. But come on, is it not about getting more right than wrong decisions? You might want to give us a call on that. 03717 223344. Oh dear, we all lost 5 minutes, 30 seconds of our lives last night. But the decision was right. calls are coming in, as we expected, on VAR in general. Give us a shout if you want to get involved in this. 03717 223344. We're talking more specifically about that moment last night when it looked like Manchester City had got a second goal. Semenyo's flick went past Nick Pope. Replay showed that part of Haaland's leg was in an offside position. But because the semi-automated offside technology failed originally, there was a longer than usual delay, and it ended up being about 5 minutes, 30 seconds.
Well, also, Jim, just to add to that, it's also the decision from the VAR guys on whether he was interfering or not took an extra bit of time. It wasn't just an offside decision. They had to get the offside decision before they could then make a judgment on whether he's interfering or not, because if he was onside, it would have mattered.
With you. There's Ross. Jim, who stole the jam out of your donut this morning? Nobody, Ross, nobody. But there is Liam. And I've been going on about the number of checks we've had. Since VAR was introduced, there's been about 16,000 checks. Mostly go completely unnoticed, of course, because we don't hear about them. Because the VAR people and the referees decide amongst themselves that the decision they got to was the right one. So we never hear, by and large. The vast majority go unchecked. But of course, there is the odd one that stands out, such as the one last night, such as the 8-minute check between Bournemouth and Wolves in the FA Cup. The average check is about 40 seconds. That's what we hear. The average check's about 40 seconds. But then, Simon, there's Liam. Morning, guys. I'd prefer a wrong decision than kill a game with a 6-minute check. If you can't see it's wrong within a minute, then nobody cares and you should move on.
I think a lot of people share that
wrong
sentiment.
Decision.
But that's not that. A lot of people share that sentiment, including me to a degree. But we can't have that argument, because the reason VAR is there is simply to get the correct decision. So what he's actually saying is he wants rid of it, but we're not getting rid of it. So if we've got it, we then have to use it to get the right decision.
But Danny, if that decision last night was going to decide the destiny of the Premier League title and it took 5 minutes, 30 seconds, so be it. Surely, so be it. And that's what that in itself drives the coach and horses through Liam's point.
Yes and no, because the one thing with this decision is it's not a categoric yes or no. Even though they've made the decision, it should have been disallowed. It's not a definitive. It's subjective, and it's people will sit on the fence.
We have to get the balance right. I've been writing about not wanting jumpers for goalposts for 20 years, about the technology needed to be advanced in the world's biggest game, and the fact that every other sport seemed to embrace it. And here we are with it. Its job is to be as seamless as it possibly can be. But you also have to get the balance between eliminating errors, because no one tolerates them. No one tolerated them in the previous guys when there's no technology. And the reasons why technology has been brought in is because nobody tolerated the errors, right? Against the spirit of the game. We have to be very careful. I don't mean the spirit of the game in terms of the principles of it. I mean the value of it to the fans and the value of it to the viewing audience. Right?
True.
If you lose the essence of sport, there's no logic behind people's emotional investment in sport. If you start to sanitize that and turn it into something more clinical, what is it that you're packaging and selling to people? Sport is driven by emotion. If you start killing some of the emotion by making it clinical and all about definitive, absolute margins and finicky adaptations of information, you start to lose the energy of the sport. So you've got to get that balance right. And it must be that technology must do the job better. It must be able to get to a point, even when a system fails, you've got a fallback that goes quicker than 6 minutes.
I could understand that, Sam. Yeah, but I could understand that if last night was par for the course. It was a regular occurrence that these decisions took about 5.5 minutes to arrive at. The average check is 40 seconds, Danny.
Well, I think...
But of 16,000 checks that we've had, the vast majority go unmentioned.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. I think what happens with something like this in such a big game that's being watched by so many, it brings it all... People think of all the little ones and the things they might have seen in games they've seen where it's lasted a couple of minutes, few minutes.
And that's a great point to make. But we live in a world, right, where there's something called an SLA, which is a service level agreement for your broadband, right? And your broadband's up 99% of the time. But on the 1% it's down, you will be complaining about the fact it's down, and you will not be acknowledging the fact that it's up for 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Right? So the same applies in this situation. It's the exceptions that you've got to manage. When you get it right, that's what you're paid to do. It's like someone, he does a good job. What's the alternative? He does a bad job. So the bottom line is you've got to manage the exceptions. Yeah. And if 98% of the outcomes are within a framework of time that people can accept, that 2% is the area they've got to focus on. But also, it starts with the characterisation. And people have been guilty of characterising VAR as the panacea for all ails. It was never going to be wrong. It was never getting anything wrong. And the reasons why that was silly is because at some point you're always going to have an interaction with a human being. So there's always that margin of error. And so the idea that VAR was seeded in the minds of football fans and so-called football experts, that this was it, you never get anything wrong, is half the reason why people go, well, look, it still makes mistakes. Of course it makes mistakes, but it makes a damn sight less mistakes. And the question is the trade-off for the game and for the well-being of this emotional sport and its investment around the world to the fans and the viewers, the trade-off good enough for technology getting more decisions right against some essence of the game being killed through spontaneity and the lack of emotion that goes with right decisions?
That's the big thing we're asking this morning, and I think fans out there, is it the majority or the minority that think VAR is killing it for their enjoyment and the aesthetics of the game, and then whether you go to the stadium, watch it on telly? Is the majority thinking, it's all right, I can live with it, I'd rather have it and have the right? Or is the majority have the right decisions? Or is the majority saying, sure, I've had enough now?
Well, we'll put it out there. I mean, did we really enjoy it? I know the answer is going to be yeah, but did we really enjoy the VAR-free weekend just gone in the FA Cup? Or are people just naturally drawn to novelty? I mean, it's here and it's here to stay. Quite simply, should we just damn well get on with it? Is that not the approach? Should that not be the approach? Everything considered. Give us a call, the other side of 10:30, 03717 223344.
After another excruciatingly long VAR stoppage, talkSPORT's Adrian Durham has this message for PGMOL.
The soul of football almost died earlier tonight here at St James Park while we waited 5 minutes for people in a room 300 miles away to study pixels of Nick Pope's backside to see if Erling Haaland was offside. This kind of decision isn't what VAR was designed for.
Erling Haaland was deemed to be interfering as he grappled with Malik Chow before Semenyo's second goal was disallowed. Pep Guardiola's upset with a perceived lack of communication.
Listen, if you have 5 minutes, 30 seconds, and 4 people in VAR don't realize if it's goal or not, you have to go to the referee, yeah, the frame was in the moment, the touch of the ball, it was not offside. No, it's okay.
Pep's happy with the result, though. City are 2-0 up in their Carabao Cup semi. Eddie Howe called the defeat a body blow, but not fatal for Newcastle's chances of making another final. He also had a bone to pick with the officiating.
Probably like to focus more on the fact we had 10 men when they scored their first goal, because I just don't get that rule. JJ's gone down with a head injury. We'll have to get elbowed in the head and we get punished.
Chelsea are home to Arsenal live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m. Liam Rossini has promised to speak to Raheem Sterling and Axel Disasi before deciding on their futures. Both, of course, were frozen out under Enzo Maresca. Now, the police chief who banned Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv from their game at Villa Park has said sorry to MPs for giving them false evidence. West Midlands Chief Constable Craig Guilford's blaming the use of AI.
Oh, wow. VAR. It's got everybody talking this morning, hasn't it? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. Later on, we'll get away from VAR very shortly because we will move on. Michael Carrick is in interim control at Manchester United. What needs to be the remit for Carrick at United? Does it have to be more than just holding the fort? We'll get to that very shortly. Next up for Manchester United, of course, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. We will get to that. But Guardiola's Manchester City won at St James's Park last night by 2-0, and they look good to get to the Carabao Cup final, where they will play either Chelsea or Arsenal, who go head-to-head tonight. First leg, of course, tonight. But is it as good as one for City going into the second leg at the Etihad against Newcastle? You would think so. You would think so. When it springs to mind, under Eddie, Newcastle have never won or scored a goal at the Etihad. I would personally like that to change, but we'll see in the fullness of time if it does. But what about this situation regarding VAR? Pep Guardiola spoke about it last night, and it seems that very few people have got anything complimentary to say about VAR. Before we go any further, Danny, you were quite vociferous in terms of being absolutely anti-VAR when it came in. Am I right in thinking now you've softened your outlook towards it? Because even you realise, well, damn it, it's here to stay.
Well, I think if you were to ask me to vote on whether I'd get rid of it now, I'd still get rid of it for the reasons I've always said. But I've evolved in terms of accepting that it's here and trying to embrace it and actually understand the problems of it. There's always going to, nothing, as Simon said, it can't be perfect. People want it, but you can't have that. And when you get, as you said, these isolated incidents that enormatize VAR in people's eyes and make it become this bigger thing, then, you know, I understand it, but I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon and start hammering the officials, and because they're trying to do their best and they have made improvements. They have done things quicker. You've given the numbers. Things are getting better. But it's never going to be perfect.
It's never going to be perfect. But as Simon rightly says, Danny, it was never setting out to be perfect either. It all hinges on that Semenyo flick last night that went past Nick Pope. Replays showed that part of Haaland's leg was in an offside position, but it took 5 minutes, 30 seconds to get there. But that's by far from the norm. On average, the average check, VAR check, is 40 seconds. Anyway, so many people getting in touch about this morning. Here's David, a Manchester City fan. David, good morning. What do you want to say in this, mate?
You okay?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, what I don't get with it is they seem to pick and choose certain moments in the game to check. Because before the Haaland incident, There was a moment with Semenyo where the commentator was saying, "Oh, it's a possible handball here in their penalty area, which would have been a penalty to Newcastle." But it seems to me it just gets blown over, and they didn't really go and investigate that. And it seems to happen a lot like during a game. They seem to investigate certain moments in a game, and then not other ones. So I'm sat there at home watching it. I'm thinking, well, is this going to be a penalty to Newcastle or what?
No, I think you'd be amazed how many they check.
Right.
And you don't know. And I only know that because when I do commentaries and stuff, we have the earpiece of the VAR people and the refs sometimes, or the VAR people, and they are checking constantly. Even though you're watching the game move on, they're checking. They check nearly everything that's contentious.
But the viewer or the fan never gets to hear that.
Yeah, correct.
But you do.
Yeah.
You're in
depending on the game, yeah.
And you hear it, Danny, do you?
Yeah.
On your earpiece.
Yeah. So they'll be so the game's going to say potential handball, bump checked, clear, bum or whatever. You know, they're checking all the time, and there's certain things in their criteria they have to check.
Got you.
So when you hear people saying, "Oh, why are they checking this goal?" Why they have to check every goal.
Sure thing.
They check every penalty.
Got you, David. Thanks for the call. Here's Jack, a fellow Manchester City fan. Jack, good morning. Where are you at with it all?
Morning, gents. Yeah, I kind of see it from two different parts here. One is that the decision making and who's behind the VAR, because the technology is only as good as the technology, and there's still people behind it. So the point last night specifically being subjective. One, is the technology good enough? Because we just saw a game with Liverpool and Fulham where Wirtz even said himself, it looks offside, but they had to allow a 5 centimetre allowance. And if it's my understanding, again, fans seem to be in the dark about this stuff at the moment. Was that not working last night? And so therefore is the 5 centimetre sort of allowance now not there? Because the offside, when you look at it, seeing video replays from different angles, Haaland barely looks offside anyway. So if we're allowing this allowance of 5 centimetres, that's arguable. The second part to that whole decision is subjective. When you see how fast that ball's moving, to argue that Haaland's impacted that specific goal is again questionable. And then the third part is football is for fans. As fans, I have a season ticket at City, and when you don't know what's going on, you sat there, not clueless.
I get that. I agree with that, Jack.
Have a season ticket.
Yeah,
it costs a fortune to go to the football, and it's not our game anymore because it's ran so sanitary and so clinical with these decisions. I think Danny's right. Like, I would rather have a couple where, you know, you have someone talk about in the pub afterwards going, got that one wrong or made a mistake there, but not crucial where, you know, you lose it. And I understand.
But Jack, with respect, mate, surely those days have gone. Everybody gets in the pub and like, well, I thought that was it. No, you're wrong. This is what happened. Yeah. No, you're wrong. No, he's right. No, you're wrong. VAR, by and large, has cleared everything up. Do you not agree?
Well, you said that, Jim. Like they get it right every time. But I would argue last night there's still a lot of arguments online that actually last night, because it's subjective, it's not right or wrong. It's an opinion of a human that sat in a VAR room nitpicking, spending 5 minutes trying to check if it's offside. Which again, apparently this technology wasn't working properly, so they had to draw lines. And if you look at the lines, the gap between the offside and onside was huge. And actually, when you look at the cameras, it was a grainy piece of footage. I'd argue that's one thing. But again, the involvement of a player in a goal, that's still subjective. So there's still a human error that can be applied to that. And at the same time, fans in the ground. I mean, I watched them. I couldn't get a ticket last night. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough points to go. Yeah. But at the same time, I didn't know what was going on. The guys on TV didn't know what was going on. So, you know, where are the fans in all of this?
Okay, good call, actually, Jack. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the call. Phil's a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Phil, good morning. What about yourself?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
I agree with the previous caller, to be fair. I mean, I think we're missing the point slightly when we talk about how many decisions VAR has got right and how many it's got wrong. I mean, as I think has been mentioned, football's not an exact science. And if the spirit of why the laws were put in place was upheld, I don't think we need VAR to get involved half as much. And if you take offside as a specific example, I mean, the offside rule was originally brought into being to prevent, you know, forward players gaining an unfair advantage. Now, if you're talking about 5 centimetres and drawing lines across pitches, there's no advantage gained there. And I haven't seen the specific Haaland incident. However, by all accounts, again, it's you know, to say he's gaining an advantage or City are gaining any advantage from that sounds to me to be completely wrong.
Phil, what do you think of Arsene Wenger's long-term plan to change the offside law? He's proposing there should be a daylight rule, daylight between the attacker and defender for an offside offence. Do you still think there's room for that?
I have to agree with him, and I don't agree with him on many things, but I think on that particular issue, I think it takes a lot of the subjective decisions away. You know, if there's clear daylight, and then you are clearly gaining an advantage. But to you know, with all these minuscule, you know, people's toes being offside or their elbow,
yeah.
I mean, it's just ludicrous. It really is killing the game.
Phil, good call. Thank you for that. Nick, the Forest fan, you'll finish as far as this section is concerned. Nick, good morning. What do you want to say?
Good morning, gent. So, for me, VAR is just trying to measure everything all the time. That's why it takes so long. That's why it's complicated. Why can't we just make offside just based on where the attacking player's feet are? And that's it. And that's easy for VAR to measure. That means it's going to be quicker. We're not sat in the cold. And that's that, really, isn't it?
Hallelujah.
Surely that solves it.
That's absolutely spot on.
If we're going to talk about drilling down, to measuring stuff, then think about how many throw-ins players encroach and move forward. That's not measured particularly well, is it?
The feet argument is the best one.
Apply everything equally. Yeah?
So, Nick, you want to change the law just like Wenger wants to change the law?
No, the Wenger one is ridiculous because what would happen is daylight, it's still got to be measured somewhere. You'd still have the line. But the problem is you would then get defenders playing more cautiously and sitting deeper. One of the great things about the Premier League is a lot of teams now will squeeze up and try and condense the space and pressing football on the front foot, and then teams will play over the top or through them, and lots of counter-attacks. It's a dynamic game that we're watching.
But you don't need to measure daylight. You can.
Well, it still comes a time where it goes
daylight via your own vision.
Well, no, not from watching on the screen. You'd still have to measure it. You'd still have a time where it goes from being next to somebody's body to daylight. And what is it? 5 millimeters, whatever it is. There's still a problem in measurements.
But the tech could do that, couldn't it? AI.
Yeah, but the feet is easier. This nonsense about measuring armpits and people's shoulders and all that stuff. Feet is everything because it gives the attacker the chance to lean forward and get the benefit of the doubt with his feet still in line with the defenders. Daylight's going to just cause defenders to play deeper.
Here's Harry's former assistant, Kevin Bond, enjoying the show, guys. VAR got themselves in a right mess last night, says Kevin. This should not be their call. Teams should be appealing these decisions, not VAR. They're trialling this in Spain.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed it will come here.
What is it, 3 a game?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't mind that.
Is it more democratic that way?
Well, then you'll have and that's not a bad point. But then you'll have the argument about how many appeals you get.
Yeah.
Like how many substitutes you need. Now it will be 3 appeals, then it'll be 5 appeals, then it'll be 7 appeals, then it'll be 10 appeals, and then it'll be the reasons why they've lost games because they didn't have enough appeals.
Yeah.
So there's no perfect solution. You've got to ask yourself how you got there. How have we got here? Why are we at this position now?
Right.
And why are we in this circumstance? Because the caller talks about the nature of the game and what's been forgotten in all this and the outcomes that people expect. The reasons why we're here is because nobody, football fan, football pundit, football manager, football expert, was prepared to accept a referee on the field making decisions. And now all of a sudden, the referee on the field is so valuable. Whereas once upon a time, he was someone that was there to be lambasted and abused and castigated and told he couldn't do his job. So now he's got some tech support. And because that tech support has a little bit of context and nuance and a bit of complexity to it, people aren't interested in that particular outcome. They want to go back to the original outcome that they weren't interested in the first place.
Do you think coaches and players, if asked the question again, now we've evolved and had it and used it and experienced it, do you think the majority of them would be against or still engaged with it and wanting it?
Well, you've got the mindset of a player.
Well, I
think
it would be the top clubs and managers and players that would want it.
Do you?
Yeah. Because
despite the fact that it's biased, according to Pep.
As an owner, Simon, would you still want it?
Yeah, I want it to sophisticate itself, though. And I want it to be representing itself properly in the media, that it wasn't going to cure every single problem. The subjectivity still existed, and there was going to be a margin. But that margin was far less, and there were far less mistakes. And people will say, of course, that should be the case. But the advertising for this product, the marketing of this product, and the settling in of this product has not been good enough. And it's seeded a narrative which very vociferous voices have been able to carry and misrepresent, I think.
Just quickly, Jim, as well, I've got to say this.
Your mate Lineker.
I've got to say this. I watch a lot of European games and in the different leagues, as I see a lot of football. We still have the best officials. Our games are still refereed the best.
Yeah, but then we have other managers in this country like Arteta a year ago turning around and saying that we don't have that. We have European referees that are far better until someone rammed it down his throat that actually they weren't.
What's happened to you, Danny? Like a year ago or so you called them thick.
One particular...
He evolved.
Official, yeah.
All right. You've evolved. No,
it's still
VAR
doing
in paddle
better.
tennis. So if Danny and Simon win on Friday, they win fair and square. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT with Selco. Where the trade goes. It is Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy on this Wednesday morning, Wednesday, January the 14th. We're live in talkSPORT. We're also live, of course, on your TV. So you can watch the show every single morning between 10 and 1. And we're delighted that so many of you do on Samsung, Fire TV, Google TV, even Prime Video. So you can watch us as well as listen to us. This weekend, a major test for Michael Carrick and Manchester United. Yes, Michael Carrick and Manchester United. The one-time player is now back as interim manager following the sacking of Ruben Amorim. He is long gone, it seems, in my mind now, and now it's all about who takes over And Carrick is a man that the hierarchy at United have decided he will take them through to the end of the season. This was Carrick on the task ahead.
There's kind of two sides to it, you know. There's the personal side and the relationships and seeing people and the kind of the soft side in some ways. But I'm quickly focused on doing the job. You know, it's a big responsibility, a massive pleasure and a privilege to be here. But we want to do a good job, and this place deserves that. It's clear what's in front of us. It's a really clear focus, a clear goal now to have a real big end to the season, and we got to shape the team and put the team in the right place to be able to do that.
So we know that Darren Fletcher had a couple of games, Danny, and he's come and gone, and now Michael Carrick will do the job until the end of the season. But is he just doing it until the end of the season? It's a lot more than just holding the fort, isn't it?
I don't think so this time. I think they'll have learned from their mistakes. Even if he has a really good spell and they have a bump and they start playing some good stuff and even sneak into the top 5, top 4, whatever, depending if we get the 5 places, will they go down that line again of rewarding and then giving him a contract and a year later be thinking now we need a proper manager or a senior manager, someone more experienced, I should say? I don't think they'll make. I think he knows it's interim. I don't think whatever he does is going to become permanent. I really don't.
City, first test as far as Carrick and United are concerned.
Not a good first game,
Simon. Excuse me, 11 points between the two of them at the moment. City second at the moment, Manchester United 7th at the moment. What do you think Carrick thinks about the task ahead? Is he just filling a seat because he's been asked to fill it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's levels of information that reverberate around that he's not really interested in being a manager. His experiences of management are not driving him to want to be a manager. He wants to be perhaps an assistant. And that may well be because he doesn't enjoy management. I don't know. I can't speak specifically for him. It's just what I've heard from relatively reliable sources. Going into Manchester United is an opportunity to create some degree of reputational enhancement and I suspect some benefits, you know, given the fact he was a Manchester United player. He's been asked, so he'll go do it. Playing against Man City in the first game, whilst not ideal, is only not ideal if his team don't put a shift in. People will not be expecting them to beat Manchester City. If he were to play Burnley or Wolves on his first game and they put up a bad performance and they got beat, it would be worse than perhaps putting up a good performance, putting a shift in, but still getting beaten by Man City. If you get pumped and you're nowhere in the game, then it's going to be a bad game for him to start with.
Yeah. But Danny, I mean, no Amorim and no back three. So has Fletcher's results shown that maybe the system wasn't the problem, as was being insisted by some of the pundits?
Well, I think you could argue that defensively, whether you play a back 4 or a back 3 with United's defenders who they have available, they're going to give up chances. They're not blessed with great pace. They've not got the quality of other teams, the better teams around them. Let's put it that way. Defensively, United have had problems for a couple of years now. They score, I think they're 3rd, 4th top scorers in the league. They're making chances. They'll score goals. And Mbumo's back. They look all right going forward, but they're wide open at the back. It's interesting. I know you're probably going to bring it up anyway, but Steve Holland's gone in there, and I can.
Right now, you know Steve.
I can tell you that he'll be doing a lot of the coach. Steve's an unbelievable coach. Brilliant, as good as I've had. Very good, tactically. Now, obviously, what he does on the coaching pitch will be determined by the manager. And I know there's an argument to say, well, why would you bring him in when working under Southgate, the pragmatic style, defensive style, counter-attack style at times, boring at times he was accused of, could be put at his door. My knowledge is, Steve, look, he was at Chelsea. I think he stayed at the club for 5, 6, 7 managers because he's so talented at what he does. But there's an argument, and I'm not saying this from Steve because I haven't spoken to him a long time, but maybe he's all right being number 2, doing as he's told a little bit and riding with it. But in terms of his coaching, he's top notch. So if Michael Carrick wants to play the more United way, which I think he will, I think United could have a decent second half of the season.
So second guess this for us. If you tell us, and no reason to doubt it, and I know Steve Holland, but not as well as you. So the first training session, there's Carrick, there's Johnny Evans, and there's Steve Holland popping up. So, Steve, the floor is yours. What's he saying to them?
Well, I think from a coaching point of view, he'll make the sessions very relevant to how they're going to play and what they're going to come up against tactically. That's what he's really good at. So if Michael wants to play a 4-3-3, they'll set up that way. And if they're playing against a 3-5-2, for example, everything will be covered. very well. And also, Steve's good at the enjoyment side of it, getting players, keeping people high, keeping people enjoy the sessions when they're maybe not playing, which is a key factor with a big squad as well, especially as United are only in one competition.
Well, I was going to say that. So how do you motivate these players? Because there ain't much to play for.
Well, to be fair, when you're at Man United, you shouldn't be needed to do too much motivation for the players. They should be motivating themselves to either A, get in the team, or B, get the team up the table. I mean, Jesus, you're talking about one of the biggest clubs in the world. If the players need help from coaches getting motivation, we've got a problem. I think they've got enough talent in terms of goals to outscore teams. Defensively, they've got to find a way of being better and more solid. But that's the balance every team has. Every team at the moment has got to find this balance between entertaining the masses, winning football matches, playing great football, and don't concede as well.
Is there any way Carrick United can beat City?
Yeah, there's a way. I mean, United have had a habit in recent years, even when they've been playing poorly, of going to get results from. They've done it at Anfield twice, when Liverpool's, completely the favourites, gone there and really top players raise their game against other top players. That's the pride that kicks in, the self-motivation. They can get something there. Yeah, of course they can. If they've got Mbeumo, Cunha, Sesko scoring goals now, and Bruno's a 10 behind them, that front four against a depleted Man City defence, of course they can. Problem is, how do they stop?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, exactly. At the other end. It's a 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. Manchester United against Manchester City. Michael Carrick's Manchester United, and it's live on talkSPORT. It's 11 o'clock.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 2 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. The head of West Midlands Police has said sorry to MPs for giving them false evidence over the decision to ban Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv from Villa Park in November. Craig Guilford says there was no intention to mislead about a security threat and blamed AI. The report referenced a Maccabi game that never happened. Shadow Foreign Secretary Dame Priti Patel says he should resign.
Bear in mind, I think Craig Guilford's position was pretty untenable anyway, even before this has come out. I just don't see how he can survive this.
Eddie Howe says going 2-0 down to Man City in the Carabao Cup semi is a body blow, but not fatal to Newcastle's chances of reaching the final. Meanwhile, Neil Warnock's told us Pep Guardiola's one decent centre-half away from another dynasty team.
If I were Mark Gay, I think I'd think, oh, sod Real Madrid or Barcelona or what have you. Let's have 4 years at bloody Manchester City with him, because he's the best manager in my lifetime for me.
We've heard Bayern Munich are interested in Mark Gay as well. Tonight we've got Chelsea at home to Arsenal, live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. Rugby Union, Newcastle Red Bulls have confirmed the signing of England's scrum half Rafi Quirk. That's on a 2-year deal. Quirk will make the move from Sale Sharks at the end of the season. And Austrian tennis player Sebastian Offner will be thumbing through the rulebook again today. He celebrated a win over USA's Nishesh Basavaredi after going 7-1 up in the third set tiebreak. But final set tiebreaks are first to 10. Basavaredi came back to win their Aussie Open qualifier.
talkSPORT News.
The government's promising to transform transport links in the north of England, but have we heard this before? Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer's preparing to face the Commons after another climb down by his government. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, where we've got more premium tyres than the number of times you'll hear, "Ooh, it's a bit nippy this winter." Book today at quickfit.com.
A dry day, bright and cold, rain across Northern Ireland though, that's moving into western Scotland, wet across the far south this afternoon as well.
Good morning, everybody. Wednesday morning. It's one of our favourite mornings because Danny Murphy joins Simon and myself live in studio on the 17th floor of the news building here at London Bridge. This is Wednesday, January the 14th. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT and live on your telly as well. A lot to get through. Chelsea against Arsenal tonight. You're working in that, Dan?
I am looking forward to it,
For talkSPORT. The second Carabao Cup semi-final, first leg, of course, Manchester City having won the first leg of their tie against Newcastle last night by 2-0 up at St James's Park. A lot to get through. Ben Jacob will join us very shortly. Conor Gallagher to Tottenham Hotspur. Is it done? Almost. Ben will be with us shortly to tell us who's going where and why. But certainly this one stands out a mile for us to discuss this morning on this show. And we have a former top player in Mr. Murphy in our midst. Danny, a set piece, when you played at the highest level, were you ever grabbed by an opponent where it hurts?
Yeah. But, I mean, it was quite regular, that type of thing, but it was always jokingly. I don't remember anyone trying to hurt me by doing it.
Yeah.
You know, a little tickle of your nuts or...
Oh, hello.
Or, you know, the other side, like a little...
All right.
Finger, whatever. But the reality was, it was generally always a bit of fun, just a diversion tactic.
Forgive me, it sounds as if you almost enjoyed it, Danny.
Alan volunteered for that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say
no,
that.
I mean, what you learn as you go along how to try and distract people, and if they did it to you, you do it back.
The reason I'm asking this morning, I mean, we all remember the famous picture, don't we? It conjures up the image of Vinnie Jones in Gaza.
Yeah, but he's trying to hurt him there.
And he was trying to hurt Gascoigne in that picture, of course, grabbing him where it really hurts. League Two, Swindon Town captain Ollie Clark, banned for 7 matches. 7 matches! After committing, quotes, highly violating and intentional foul play on not one but 2 opponents' private body parts during a game. 33-year-old midfielder was also fined £2,750 after admitting 2 FA charges of acting in an improper manner or using indecent behaviour to an opponent. The incidents occurred during Swindon's Carabao Cup defeat by Cardiff back in August.
Unintentional, though, he said.
Yes, he said. He said.
Yeah,
Now, the commission don't go with that. One of the players who was at the wrong end of this said to the referee, apparently, after the final whistle, that this same player was, quotes, visibly upset and very emotional and struggled to speak, according to the disciplinary report.
Must have squeezed him hard.
He must have squeezed him hard, Simon. In a statement, Swindon and Clark, quotes, maintained his innocence and only admitted the charges on the basis that both were unintentional. How can you do it unintentionally?
I don't think you can.
Well, our old pal Ian Holloway is the Swindon manager, and he says, I vouch for his character. I know he's competitive, and he wouldn't have meant anything that he's allegedly done. He said that it took so long, it was disgraceful. They threw it out, and now he's got such a hefty ban. An unfair decision. But I would rather they reported him to the police, and the police would have let him off, because there's no evidence. It's as simple as that. Seems to me, Simon, that
I think it's
guilty as charged. I think it's hard. Sorry, but it seems to me it stands out a mile that he was at it not once but twice, and the penalty, I think, fits the crime.
Well, it's something that's come up in rugby as well. I've seen it in rugby in recent times. The reality is, if you're trying to hurt somebody, then the punishment is what it is. But if it's something done more in jest that I talked about, that I experienced many, many times and saw many times, then 7 games is ridiculous. But I don't know on this case, and I don't know why there isn't any cameras. We see goals from all the League 1 and 2 games all the time, so why is there no...
Well, he pled guilty, didn't he? I mean, he pled guilty. The charge was the charge, and he pled guilty with his version or his representation's version of mitigating circumstances, which it wasn't intentional, which most people would turn around and say, well, I'm finding that difficult to believe.
Especially twice.
Because it's difficult to believe how, A, you'd have done it twice, and B, how unintentional it can be to grab someone by the knackers. So with due respect, I think it's a relatively weak defence. Ian Holloway is defending his player. Bringing the police into this situation is a ridiculous argument, because the police would either charge him or not charge him based upon the evidence. The evidence that was given was probably video evidence. So the police may well charge him, depending on what they're charging him with. But it's irrelevant what the police would do. He's not governed by the police. This wasn't a police matter. This was a football matter. And so the player, if he wasn't guilty of these offences, he should have said, I'm not guilty, and let himself be tried by the judgment, and then presented his evidence. But he pled guilty.
Well, that's right. And it appears to me, Danny, that the player involved, Ollie Clark, the captain of Swindon, when he says it wasn't intentional, and as you say, Danny, it can be a bit of fun, I would have thought, in a situation now and again. This wasn't a bit of fun when the player on the receiving end was described as being very emotional and struggling to speak.
Well, that suggests it was a more violent act.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then
I mean, I don't know what they're... I mean, I don't know, and I don't want to be sinister. I don't know what they're implying by the highly violating terminology. Are they implying some sort of sexual impropriety? I don't know what the terminology is being defined as. But, I mean, if someone grabs you by the short and curlies in the middle of a foot match, I don't know why it would make you so unable to speak, unless, of course, you've been squeezed that hard that you can't physically speak. So for someone to be that distressed, I'm a bit confused by it.
I think it's a tad exaggerated, let's be honest.
It feels like it. I mean, I don't know how much have been... Is there such a thing as a victim impact statement for these circumstances that also might have provided more compelling direction for the disciplinary panel to adjudicate upon? Seven games for this offence does seem like a very steep penalty.
But we don't know the offence. That's the problem.
Does it?
The detail.
Well,
if you've got listen. I'm not even.
But that's the language I'm curious about. If you go in and do a very dangerous challenge, you get sent off for it. Right? You get banned for X amount of games. 3 games. So why is this more significant?
I'm not sure.
Than that, and that's because the language that's being used is highly charged.
Well, there can only be a couple of examples. One is a really firm grab at the goalies, and the other one is, one of your fingers, 2 of your fingers, the rear. And that can put you off, and that can hurt if someone does it badly, obviously. But I think that's something that would be probably something that the player...
Well, put it this way: if you're standing in the street and somebody did it to you,
it's a police.
Yeah.
You'd get the police.
Yeah, it's
involved.
an assault. It's an assault, and so that's what the terminology is here. I mean, back in the day, people might have said something different. We said, well, that's inappropriate behaviour. and you need to be consequence for it. Now what we're saying is highly violating. It's language of the times, and it may well be that the times need to evolve to this point, but there is a dynamic that's being introduced to football that is representative in society. If somebody walked up to you in a street and grabbed you by your private parts, that would be considered, and rightly so,
Wouldn't you give him
an assault.
Wouldn't you give him a slap? Or a
But that doesn't alter the premises of what he's done.
No.
You'd give him a slap back and you'd have mitigation. So someone gives him...
No, but I mean, in terms of the player who's inconsolable, I mean, well, he's not a 12-year-old and a 25-year-old.
No, I
He's
know,
a grown
but
man. He can tell the referee or go,
But in this society where resilience seems to be a word that people shy away from, it's not our gift to say to him the tolerance he should have and how he should react to something that he finds distressing.
Well, I played the game though. I'm assuming on the pitch. You can say to someone.
But by the standards of today, I hear you. I'm in your space, and we'll be called dinosaurs for having this conversation. I would believe that you push somebody back and go, what the hell do you think you're doing? Have some resilience about you. I certainly wouldn't be crying in the corner. No. But that's us, and that's you and I. Someone else might...
We don't know anything about the background of the player, of the victim. We don't know anything about the background.
But the language, if you look at the language, highly violating, that tells me there's an underlying assertion that something deeply inappropriate is being done here.
And that's not...
And that's where they're taking this, and that's why it's getting the
hence the 7 games by the sound.
And the optics of it and all that goes with it. And Ian Holloway defending, to my view, with all due respect to Ian, the indefensible. What's your explanation then, Ian? You can vouch for his character. He's grabbed someone by the short and curlies twice in a game, 2 different players, and you've got an explanation for that, have you? It's unintentional. I mean, what? Someone else has got control of his hands. I mean, he's done what he's done.
As we said,
Ian Holloway says, I saw what he did. I've watched it back, and for me, it was nonsense. Not if you're in the receiving end of it.
Well, Ian Holloway's a very experienced guy, played the game, managed for a long time. If he says he's seen it and it's nonsense, that says to me that it was done in jest, which is contradictory to the statement. So we're caught between...
Should that make any difference?
But that then
yes, it should make a massive difference.
But that then tells me that his representation in the tribunal wasn't of a sufficient standard to not allow it to get away from itself. If Ian Holloway, as a grown-up individual that's not just defending a player because he wants the player available to him, is saying to you, in the real world, this is nonsense. Yeah, he should get a smack for it, but it's nonsense. It shouldn't have gone to this level. But that must mean that the representation he had in the tribunal and the decisions he made to plead guilty weren't strong enough, and the evidence that he gave in his own defence didn't give them cause to think that actually, hang on a second, we need to tell him that he can't do this sort of behaviour, but we don't need to escalate it to 7 games.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, though, not just one opponent, but 2 on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, again, I'll put it down to context. I'm not condoning it. I'm telling you the truth. When I played, it happened quite a bit. And it would happen more probably with people you knew in a friendly, or a distraction thing where someone's just messing around in terms of, nothing aggressive trying to hurt you. That maybe now that should be gone. It's dated. It shouldn't be something that ever happens.
But you say it happened quite a bit.
Yeah, it was something that was pretty regular stuff.
What, did you dish it out as well as receive it?
On occasion. Yeah, but, times change, don't they? You can't be seen to be doing stuff like that.
It happened to you quite a lot?
I wouldn't say quite a lot. I don't know where you're going with it.
Don't dare take him on with that one.
I'm just telling you the truth. On occasion, it would be, and it always in a friendly-ish way, a distraction way, just taking the mickey way. But times have changed. The reality with this particular,
it's not really. That's not really a plausible explanation. It's not really friendly to have a finger up with Jaxie, is it?
No, I didn't say
I'm
a
not
finger
looking
up with
voting for
Jaxie.
that. If someone did that to me, I didn't think it was friendly.
No. It's hardly a term of endearment either. But at the end of the day, we have a bit of a ritual here. Anyway, the short and the tall of it is that our friend, the Swindon Town captain, Ollie Clark, has been banned for 7 matches and fined £2,750. Maybe the message to Ollie is, keep your hands to yourself. It's 11:15.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
Well, that's right. With Intuit QuickBooks, alongside Simon, Danny and myself, we're joined by my colleague here at talkSPORT, Ben Jacobs, as we discuss all the top stories in the world of transfers. Of course, we're getting through the month of January, and the deadline is fast approaching, February the 2nd. Ben, good morning. We'll get to the Aston Villa striker on his way out of Villa Park very shortly, but tell me about Conor Gallagher. Tottenham Hotspur, am I right? It's very close now.
Yeah, good morning. It's done. In fact, we're only waiting for official confirmation. Conor Gallagher has signed a 5.5-year contract, and the fee is about £34 million or 40 million euros. This was a fascinating story because Aston Villa were pushing, but only prepared to do a loan with a conditional obligation. And then at the 11th hour, Tottenham came in and gave basically Atletico Madrid what they were looking for, a permanent exit. It suits Conor Gallagher. He's back in London. He stands a chance of starting games and playing enough minutes to maybe force his way into Thomas Tuchel's thinking. But this one is a done deal. Gallagher has put pen to paper, 5.5-year contract, £34 million fee.
Wow, Ben, good work on your part. I mean, here we are, Danny. What kind of upgrade is this for Spurs midfield?
I mean, he's a super athlete, tenacious. I mean, Bentancur's out, Bergval's out. I think Sarr's been missing with the AFCON. The reality is, he's not going to fix their problems because creatively they've got too many players missing. They don't look like they can score enough goals, make enough chances. He'll compete with the other midfielders. Yeah, he's similar to Bergval in a way. It's a strange one, but maybe Bentancur and Sarr.
You seem a bit underwhelmed by it.
Well, no, I think if all Spurs midfielders are fit, you could still argue he'd get in if you need some of that in the middle of the park, and he's at it, like he's good at what he does, but he's not a creative force, and that's what they're sadly missing at the moment. Without Maddison, without Kulusevski, without Solanke. So I thought if they were going to go in the market, I know they're probably looking big for more down the line, 4 or 5 years down the line, but I thought they might still go for something creative. He's good, but I don't know if he's that different than what they've got.
I get you. Conor Gallagher then, it's done. He's off to Tottenham Hotspur, a 5.5-year deal. I've got many Everton friends, Janet and Bernie being two of them. They want to know who they're getting. So are Everton in the market doing some business this morning then, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. Yusuf En-Nesyri is the one to watch. Everton and Nottingham Forest are the two suitors for the Fenerbahce player, and the Turkish club are prepared to sell or loan. Everton have made a formal approach. They're looking for a formula that is a loan with a conditional obligation. Fenerbahce value the player in excess of £15 million. And it will be interesting to see whether Nottingham Forest counter, because we know that Forest are looking for a source of goals and creativity. I'm led to believe that Mehdi Taremi, who is at Forest's sister club Olympiacos, is the leading target. Jürgen Strand-Larsen was considered as well, but Wolves are adamant that they want 40 million. That number put off West Ham and seemingly at the moment Nottingham Forest as well. And now Forest have got a decision to make because Everton are advancing for Yusuf En-Nesyri, and as a consequence, if Nottingham Forest wants to get in the mix here, they're going to have to move relatively fast because an exit is expected, and it wouldn't surprise me if this transfer, wherever he ends up within the Premier League, happens relatively quickly, because Fenerbahce are looking to free up some budget because they are also exploring a big money move, not on transfer fee, but on wage for N'Golo Kante to try and get him out of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, interesting. And this player Everton trying to get, am I right, on duty at AFCON, Moroccan player?
Yeah, exactly. But of course, we're right towards the end of the tournament. And as a result, the player's agent is now starting to take meetings. We're at the semi-final stage there. So I don't think that's going to put off either Forest or Everton. But as you say, there might just be a slight complication on the player side. But with the club to club, I'm told that both Everton and Nottingham Forest want to try and make progress in the next 72 hours.
He's better than what they've got, that's for sure. He's not the quickest, though. He's a big lad. Knows where the goal is. Decent record over the years. Was good at Seville. He's not dynamic.
Right.
I mean, Everton, maybe they don't need a dynamic, but I'm thinking runs in behind, that's not really him, but he's a big lump and
okay.
Get on the end of things.
What about Lucas Paqueta, if you like, at West Ham? Has he played his last game for West Ham then, Ben?
Not necessarily. So there are some reports out there from Brazil that Lucas Paquetá is basically going on strike and that he's forcing a move to Flamengo. Despite some historical Premier League interest, the player's choice is clear. If he leaves West Ham and he wants to go now, it's a move to Flamengo, and that's the only suitor that he's engaging with. And Flamengo have had an offer of £34 million or 40 million euros turned down already as West Ham dig in because they want to try and keep the player until the end of the season. Now, suggestions that Paquetá has responded to that rejected bid by saying, I'm never playing for the football club again and I'm refusing to train, are wide of the mark. I can tell you he's turned up as normal today for training. The only caveat to that is those close to Paquetá do say that he's struggling with a minor back injury. So we know that he's with the group. We know that he's not refused to go to the training ground. But let's see if he actually trained today, because according to those close to the player, he's got a back injury. And some might say that's convenient as he waits to see whether he can get his move to Flamengo before the window shuts.
Where do you think that's going to end up, Simon? It doesn't sound too healthy for West Ham.
Again, it depends what Nuno wants, doesn't it? I mean, he needs the best players around him that he can possibly get.
Yeah.
This player is clearly a capable player. He's a player that was sought after by Manchester City prior to all the controversy that surrounded him and the allegations that were put against him. I mean, look, if he doesn't want to be here, it's a battle for the manager. And it's, of course, the optics, which I hate, of West Ham selling players against bringing in new players when clearly they need to supplement. Clearly letting players go that could add value to them now in their plight is not the overall perspective that West Ham fans will want to see. But what West Ham fans want to see predominantly is David Sullivan vacate the building, don't they?
Yeah. That would be met with a favourable reaction, I'm quite sure. Mark Gahey, any news on him then, Ben?
Yeah, Manchester City is still the ones to watch, and I'm led to believe that they're toying with the idea of placing a bid. Crystal Palace's position is clear, although they're open to a sale. They want more, not less, than the £35 million that Liverpool agreed over the summer. At least at this stage, of course, things can change as time starts to wind down. But Palace's perspective is very reasonable, because if they are to sell Mark Gay mid-season, they need serious money, because they might themselves have to overpay to bring in a defensive replacement. And then from Gay's point of view, he would also need some persuading in football and financial terms to move now, rather than wait until the summer and then have his pick of clubs after the World Cup as a free agent. Along with Manchester City, you've got Liverpool and Arsenal more inclined to do the deal in the summer. Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid even might enter the fray too. And Barcelona held a meeting 2 weeks ago, and although Gay's wage demands are by no means unreasonable, he wants to be a top 5 earner based on a Premier League wage at a big club. But for Barca, finances are tight, so at the moment they've decided to walk away, and it looks like if Gay moves, Premier League is his most likely destination. If we are to get any movement in the month of January, it will be because Manchester City in the next 10 days or so choose to force the issue.
Okay, and Ben, I think we've got a Villa striker on the way out. What can you tell us briefly?
Yeah, Daniel Malin is off to Roma. There's an agreement in principle for an initial loan worth about £2 million, followed by a conditional obligation to buy that I'm told is very easily met. So it's as good as a permanent exit. And then that transfer fee on top of the loan fee is £25 million. And this might open the door for Aston Villa to make an approach for Tammy Abraham for a fee south of £15 million.
Tammy Abraham, we remember him.
Strange, that one.
Isn't it?
Not Tammy, the Marlon one.
Yeah.
He was great at the weekend, and I've seen him score goals this season at Villa when he's played central. He's lightning quick, gives them a great option in behind. I'm really surprised.
Yeah. Seems he's on his way to Roma. Ben Jacobs, thank you very much indeed. Of course, with Ben and Alex in our midst, you will not miss a trick right here on talkSPORT as we keep you across all the transfer movement right up from this point all the way through to the deadline on February 2nd. I think I'll be involved in that myself. Thanks to Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks and you will find out more.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
After another excruciatingly long VAR stoppage, talkSPORT's Adrian Durham has this message for PGMOL.
The soul of football almost died earlier tonight here at St James Park while we waited 5 minutes for people in a room 300 miles away to study pixels of Nick Pope's backside to see if Erling Haaland was offside. This kind of decision isn't what VAR was designed for.
Erling Haaland was deemed to be interfering as he grappled with Malik Chow before Semenyo's second goal was disallowed. Pep Guardiola's upset with a perceived lack of communication.
Listen, if you have 5 minutes, 30 seconds, and 4 people in VAR don't realise if it's goal or not, you have to go to the referee. Yeah, the frame was in the moment the touch of the ball, it was not offside. No, it's okay.
Pep's happy with the result though. City are 2-0 up in their Carabao Cup semi. Eddie Howe called the defeat a body blow but not fatal for Newcastle's chances of making another final. He also had a bone to pick with the officiating.
Probably like to focus more on the fact we had 10 men when they scored their first goal, because I just don't get that rule. JJ's gone down with a head injury after getting elbowed in the head, and we get punished.
Chelsea are home to Arsenal live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m. Liam Rosenior has promised to speak to Raheem Sterling and Axel Disasi before deciding on their futures. Both, of course, were frozen out under Enzo Maresca. Now, the police chief who banned Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv from their game at Villa Park has said sorry to MPs for giving them false evidence. West Midlands Chief Constable Craig Guilford's blaming the use of AI.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
It's that time. Sean Martin joins us from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the top sporting events, some of the top games and the odds round and about them. Sean, good morning to you. We'll talk about your beloved Celtic in just a second. But, of course, last night we saw Newcastle lose at home in the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg against Manchester City. And now we've got Chelsea Arsenal to look forward to tonight in their first leg. So where are you going with it?
Yeah, morning lads. City now into even money to win their 9th League Cup after that first leg when it's at James's Park, Jim. Newcastle naturally drifted as a result. They're out at 20s to retain their trophy. Second semi-final tonight, Chelsea host Arsenal at the Bridge, as you say. 12-5, so almost 2.5 to 1 for Liam Rosenior to win his first home game as Chelsea boss. He mentioned in his presser about having the squad to win now. No better place to start than by trying to turf Arsenal out of the cup, really. Chelsea not won a domestic trophy since 2018, so if he gets past Arsenal, he could rectify that statistic as quickly as March. That said, Arsenal on a 9-match unbeaten run, competing on all fronts, as we know, and they were able to rest some players against Portsmouth at the weekend as well, which could be crucial. They've not won the EFL Cup since '93, which I thought was remarkable. I don't know why. I assumed there would be another one in there somewhere along the line, and they've gone out at this stage 2 of the last 4 years. Nonetheless, they're over even money, 27-25 favourites to win tonight. And I was talking to a Chelsea fan colleague of mine this morning, Jim. He said he'd take a draw. That's 49-20. So potential value in all 3 outcomes, depending which way you think it'll unfold. I don't know where your heads are at with it, lads.
Well, let's find out. Danny, you said to me you're working at it and you're looking forward to it. What are you thinking?
Well, I think Chelsea showed in the league game, didn't they, that they've got the capability of causing anybody problems, including Arsenal. And they did really well with 10 men in that game. I think if Chelsea have got any chance of getting through over 190 minutes, yeah, they could beat them. But over 2 games against Arsenal, if Chelsea aren't leading halfway through, I don't give them a chance. They've got to win.
What are your first impressions of Liam?
Well, I know him a little bit. You know, I've worked with him in media. I know he's a bright lad. I know he's confident. I like his style. I like the way he's conducted himself, the things he said. I hope it goes well for him. They'll certainly have a go. They're not going to become a pragmatic, boring watch under him. He'll have them playing, and he'll try and win the game.
Do you think Chelsea win tonight, Simon?
I think that a lot depends upon Arsenal and how Arsenal turn up for this game and what personnel they put on the field. I mean, I'd like to see Liam do well, and I'd like to see him start with a win. I'd like it to be turned into a competitive semi-final so that Arsenal have to do something at the Emirates. So if Chelsea are going to win this tie over 2 legs, which I don't think they will, they've got to go to Arsenal with a significant lead, and I think that means 2 or 3-0. And I don't see Chelsea beating Arsenal 2 or 3-0.
No, I think any lead give them a chance.
Do you think
any lead would give them a chance? Yeah, because then you're going away from home knowing that Arsenal have to come on to you, which Chelsea like playing on the break. But the reality is Arsenal's home form is just ridiculously good.
Yeah.
So anything, if they don't win tonight, Chelsea, you're kind of thinking it's done, but you never know in football, do you?
Well, Chelsea against Arsenal is live on talkSPORT. Danny will be on CoCom's duty at that. So up in Scotland, we've got 2 games tonight. Falkirk Celtic, Martin O'Neill, of course, in charge of Celtic. Hearts against St Mirren. Interesting this, Sean, is it not? Hearts lead the way in 47 points. Rangers in there in 44. Celtic in there in 41. These 2 games very important tonight.
Yep, Celtic at Falkirk, Hearts at home to St Mirren, Jim. Both around the same odds to win, which says a lot, I think, somewhere around the 4-9 mark. Falkirk only beaten Celtic once in the past 31 years, but I must say, John McGlynn doing a great job with them this season. Newly promoted, retained a lot of his squad from the lower leagues, currently 6th. In fact, you could argue he's well in the manager of the season, running alongside Derek McInnes of Hearts at the moment. Martin O'Neill, as you say, obviously back in the Celtic dugout. A routine 4-0 win on Saturday is how I would characterise it, Jim, back to normality. And really, lads, we absolutely need to go on a major winning run now. No real room for error. We've already lost 6 league games already, and only once from the start of the kind of SPL era, so 97-98 through the SPFL one now, has any team lost 7 and still won the title. That was Celtic, to be fair, back in 2013. But yeah, need head-to-head wins and drop-offs from both Hearts and Rangers now. Really, I think unlikely that Hearts drop the ball tonight, Jim. They're still unbeaten at Tynecastle this league season, and St Mirren are 6-1, which I think tells you just how formidable it is to go to Gorgie at the moment. Clinging on to a tiny glimmer of hope tonight that St Mirren, who beat Celtic, of course, in the League Cup final last month, are as close to a bogey team as the Jambos as it gets this season, because we beat them on penalties in the Cup, drew with them in the league. But as I say, it's 6-1. It's likely that Hearts maintain that lead at the top tonight, unfortunately for me.
Got to think Celtic win with Martin.
Yeah,
Hearts win.
As much as I can,
they win.
As much as I can drum up some enthusiasm for this repeated dive into Scottish football, my next interest level will be on January 25th when I see Celtic come up against Hearts.
Yeah.
That's when I'll next tune in to Scottish football.
But you were agreeing with me the other day. Sorry, Sean, I'm not letting him off with that. You were agreeing with me the other day that it's different this time around because Hearts have made it different.
But the narrative isn't about Hearts, is it? It's all about the decline and the challenges and the travails of Celtic and Rangers. So even in their decline, they managed to steal all the oxygen out of the room. If it was all about Hearts and we were talking all about Hearts and talking about Hearts' opportunities and how well they were doing and all their players and their manager, we don't. We spend all our time talking about Celtic and Rangers.
We've got a title race in Scotland.
Huh?
That's Jim's fault.
Totally, it's Jim's fault.
We've got a title race in Scotland.
There'll be no doubt
I'm
about
sure
that.
you'd agree. And as you say, there's a bit of a buzz around Gorgie Road at the moment, of course, for these 2 heathen to my left. That's where Hearts play, Tynecastle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say, I thought it was
Edinburgh,
Tynecastle.
capital city.
What did you call it?
So what's that?
Gorgie Road.
Gorgie Road, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a great area. Brilliant. Football area. Love it. What about the Dubai Invitational preview? Let's try and get Simon interested in that in Dubai.
Luckily for us, Danny's there next to him, I suppose. Decent field at Dubai Creek to kick off the DP World Tour. It's every 2 years, this event, and this is only the 2nd ever staging, so not much history to look back on for it. Tommy Fleetwood won it in 2024.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy finished 2nd. It's actually the other way around in the betting here, Jim. Rory 10-3 favourite on this occasion. Fleetwood 9-2. Also got Shane Lowry, Nikolai Højgaard also teeing it up there, both 14s. But with regards to Fleetwood, Danny, do you reckon this is, we were discussing it this morning, do you reckon this is finally his year to win a major? And either way, which one do you think he's got the best chance in?
Well, I think because he's had such a good year and he's got the monkey off his back in terms of the PGA win and stuff, he can now play a bit freer, I would imagine. I mean, he's just playing at such high levels. He's capable of winning all of them, mate, honestly. He's that good. You never know what they've been doing in the off-season. It was a long year for them, Ryder Cup. Have they had a nice holiday? Are they using this tournament as a warm-up rather than being competitive? We'll have to wait and see. I'm just glad the golf's back. I've missed it.
Yeah,
It's like being away for a summer from Jim and Simon, then coming back. You know, that excitement.
Yes. Yeah. You miss us.
Yeah.
You miss the golf.
Yeah.
Carry on if you can, Sean.
We actually have him most likely, in terms of the odds anyway, most likely to win the Masters out of the four of them, but there's not much really in it. He's 18 to 1 for the Masters. He pretty much always makes the cut there. He's finished right up there a few times before. The PGA, it's at Aronmick, which is a course he shot 62 on, I think, before when I looked into it. The US Open, Shincock Hill, same venue, he finished second, carded a final round 63 back in 2018. And obviously the Open, it's got a special one for him this year. It's at Royal Birkdale near Southport. So I don't even disagree. We couldn't come to a consensus ourselves this morning. Charlie, you know how much he loves his golf, couldn't come to a kind of single, right, I think he's going to win that one. He has really got a good chance for them all. He's between 18s for the Masters and up to 33s for the PGA. So potential value there, just backing him in all four and seeing where he finishes.
Good stuff, Sean. You know we love transparency on this show. Sean, you were saying an unnamed colleague of yours thinks Chelsea will do well to get anything tonight at home. Who was it?
I don't know if you know him, Jim, but his name's Jordan, so he'll love this wee shout out, especially since he's going to that game. He's Chelsea fan. He's Chelsea fan. Friends can tell him you didn't tip us to win.
Jordan, go on. Never heard of him. Thank you so much. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Be gambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We're live on talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco. It's where the trade goes. You can check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. On this show, especially with Simon around, we're never really afraid to tackle any particular subject.
I am.
Whatever it may or may not involve. And Simon, I think this is one of them that falls into this category. And we have to be serious about this because Sport England have demonstrated just how serious they are about it. Sport England, of course, which oversees grassroots sports all over the country. Sport England has said it has suspended its account on X, Twitter to you and I, because the social media platform, quotes, increasingly promotes and monetizes an environment that is hostile to women and girls. So Sport England has decided, no, that's not for us. We're coming off it. Now, in a blog post explaining the decision, Chris Boardman, who's the chair of Sport England, we remember Chris when he competed as an athlete, he criticised Twitter's AI tool Grok, saying it had contributed to the amplification of, and worse, normalisation of misogynistic content. Now, Grok has been in the headlines in recent days, you'll probably know, after Ofcom launched an investigation into Twitter over concerns its AI tool is being used to create sexualized images. In a statement, Ofcom said that there had been, quotes, deeply concerning reports of the chatbot being used to create and share undressed images of people, as well as sexualized images of children. So Chris Boardman and Sport England have said, this is not for us. Simon, with X becoming something of a cesspit, do you think, should football clubs assess their own position around whether or not they comfortably sit online?
Well, I think everybody should assess their position as to where they communicate and what village square or town square they shout from. And social media platforms are those. The idea that it promotes and facilitates misogynistic behaviour, I think, is a stretch. I think that the people that are doing this, the people that are adapting the code and adapting the utilisation of Grok to be able to create these images and create these circumstances, which is an argument which is raging through the political hemisphere, because you've got the politicians looking at the online harms bill and pointing Ofcom at that and asking Ofcom to point X at it.
Yeah.
And you've seen Elon Musk's response, which is this Grok tool and its adaptation could be put behind a paywall, and then ultimately people that pay for the privilege of using this facility can be more easily identifiable. One of the things that we have with social media is the anonymity side of things, and the consequence of it. You've got this raging battle about editorial content and platforms and publishing, because social media companies don't want to be held accountable for what's published on their platforms, because ultimately that puts them in a situation where there can be consequence far wider. And that's why there's been argument, I think it's Section 730 in America, they've been arguing for years about how social media platforms are not publishers, they're platforms. And the content that goes on there, to some extent, they're not responsible for or legally liable for.
Yes,
they have to monitor, police, and perhaps exclude.
What do you think about what Sport England have done?
I think it's their choice. They don't need to be on there, do they? They're on there because they saw the benefits of communicating through a social media platform. If they don't like it, they don't have to be on there. I think some of their allegations about the intentions are, like most things, there's an element of hyperbole about the way that you create attention around things that you don't like and don't agree with. Of course, nobody agrees with the sexualized images and some of the stuff that's going on using AI tools that are creating outcomes where you're seeing people, that are their images are being tainted and changed into an image, and certainly in the world of children, you don't want anywhere near that.
And it's non-consensual.
And it's
Boardman doesn't hang about with his words here.
And it's now been brought forward as a crime.
Well, Boardman is saying sport should always be a place where everyone feels safe and welcome. Those are values worth standing up for. When a space undermines that, walking away is not a weakness, it's a responsibility.
Yeah, that's fine, but we're talking about the sport, and we're talking about the fact that you've chosen to be on a social media platform doesn't reflect back on the sport. We're not suggesting the sport is not a safe place. We're suggesting that certain people's adaptation of technology or certain people's approach to life might be inappropriate. And social media platforms have a responsibility to have a degree of duty of care. Some people will take it as a freedom of speech issue. The politicians are arguing about whether this is a freedom of speech issue, and they're looking at the shutting down of Twitter in this country as an opportunity for the Labour government to shut down messaging from people like Elon Musk that are relentlessly and endlessly critical of their achievements, which are very few. The idea that that sport is not a safe place because social media platforms allow trolls to behave poorly is a stretch. Sport is a safe place. Social media might not be the ideal place. And we do have to also factor in, people can switch off, don't have to read it, don't have to be part of it. And also we have to factor in resilience. And people are going to be said things to them that they don't particularly like. But the use of AI technology and how it advances in society is a cause of grave concern. But it's also a cause of great opportunity in other walks of life. People are terrified of what AI is going to do to their jobs. I think in certain industries it's going to make the people, really good people, shine out even further, because original human thought content is still going to supersede AI for some period of time. This is something that needs to be looked at, needs to be considered. It is being considered. The response back from Twitter, from what I understand, was we are going to look at the usage of this. And one of the ways that we're going to limit the use of it is by identifying people that are using it, by putting it behind the paywall, which means we can track them more. People are saying that's not an acceptable response. If Sport England want to come off social media, come off social media. It's their choice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, is it an online space on which you would like to promote your brand? I mean, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Jim White, Simon Jordan.
Yeah,
you're comfortable being on it.
But you take the good with the bad, don't you?
You're not, Danny. You've never gone near it.
X.
Yeah.
Wow. That's not for me. But
Why?
I just don't need that in my life. I don't have too much time to be sitting there expressing opinions on topics that I don't really care about or I'm not really that interested in. I'm on Instagram because I promote my work on there, but and it's football. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not that important.
You don't like the reaction that comes with it?
I just think there's better things to be doing with your time than sat on there discussing with people you don't know the pros and cons of whatever. I'm not politically motivated in any way anyway.
But it's also about legislation and what we are allowed to see and who determines what you're allowed to see and what you're not allowed to see. In this instance, where you've got images that are being sexualised of people that are non-consenting in that position and also children, it needs to be attended to.
Yeah.
And the platforms need to attend to it. And they are attending to it. How quickly they attend to it. Now, whether you should be exposed to people saying things that you don't like, well, unfortunately, that's life. And you can opt in and you can opt out. I don't have a particular value. I sit on Twitter. I probably post once a month. 300,000 or 400,000 followers. Don't follow anyone of myself because I don't consider myself to be a follower. So with that in mind, I don't have a view on it.
Well, you don't follow me?
No.
Okay, that's
no,
fine.
I don't follow anybody.
Well, maybe if you did, you could learn something.
That's true. But it's things I could learn from him. I don't want to.
I didn't mean him. I meant people.
Sport England have decided here that it's not for them. I wonder if, and do you think, off the back of what's going on here with this AI tool Grok, do you think other organisations will follow suit?
Maybe. I mean, people are very prone to deciding what others do and then following it. We've seen these ridiculous scenarios where people are able to identify as whatever they want, and every gym in the country allows you to walk in, as a bloke in a dress. And that's now been changed because legislation has changed. Look, we live in a society where people are entitled to have their view and people are entitled to say things that you don't like. And you've got to get the balance right between having an opinion and doing things that are fundamentally flawed. People being able to use a tool and adapt it and adapt the code. It's the people that are doing it, not the technology. So the technology needs to sophisticate itself to be able to identify people that are abusing the system and remove them from the equation. I've never understood. I've always understood the argument of social media that there are certain pressure groups and certain whistleblowing mentalities that need to remain anonymous. But the bulk of people that are on social media should not be anonymous.
No.
They should be identifiable. And if you make people identifiable, you will see the behaviour change dramatically.
Absolutely.
Because people like to say things and get away with them. And they think because they're sitting in a bedroom in the back end of nowhere, saying things that are abusive or doing things that are inappropriate, that there's no consequence attached to it.
Yeah.
As soon as you can find a way to consequence them, at the same time as not make the social media platforms resist the notion of doing it because it takes them into a publishing arena, then you're going to be in a better space. And social media is a tool. I don't like the way it consumes children's lives. I don't like the way it can have inappropriate influences. But that also is my responsibility as a parent to make sure that my kids aren't consumed by social media.
Exactly. But as you rightly say, there has to be a responsibility on the user for what you put on.
In the end, it's a technology. If the technology facilitates it, then you have to look at what the technology's aim was and try to facilitate a solution where the technology isn't abused. But at the end of the day, you've got to point your finger at the person that did it.
Yeah.
And why they did it and what kind of person they are, and try to eliminate that from society rather than having this broad brush perspective of saying, let's shut everything down.
But for now, though, you still think that football clubs, for example, should still feel confident and are confident to use this space.
But I've seen AI parodies of me. I don't like the categorisation of everything is an ism. It's leaning towards misogyny, and it's leaning towards this idea that we've got this patriarchal society and misogyny is rampant through the course of it, and then starts to disadvantage young boys in schools. They've got to go into school assemblies and apologise to young girls standing next to them for things that they didn't do. We've got to get the balance right in society, and sometimes I think people don't get that right. But certainly, if people are using and sexualising images, and specifically of children, this needs to be attended to. It absolutely needs to be attended to, and that must mean that people that are doing it must be found to be identified, and there must be some sort of consequence for it.
Okay, Sport England have said it's not for them. We'll see if which other organisations follow suit, if any. It's 12 noon.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 2 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. The Home Secretary is preparing to address concerns over the head of West Midlands Police's decision to ban Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv from Villa Park in November. Craig Guilford's blamed AI for presenting false evidence, but says there was no intention to mislead MPs. Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel has joined calls for him to resign. Danny Murphy's told White and Jordan Steve Holland is as good as any coach he's ever worked with. And Danny says Michael Carrick's new Man United assistant is great at making sessions relevant.
So if Michael wants to play a 4-3-3, they'll set up that way. And if they're playing against a 3-5-2, for example, everything will be covered very well. And also Steve's good at the enjoyment side of it, getting players, keeping people high, keeping people enjoy the sessions when they're maybe not playing.
Carrick's meeting his squad for the first time today. Man United host Man City live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Former Premier League referee Chris Foy's told talkSPORT the 6-minute VAR delay at St James's Park last night was because semi-automated technology wasn't working.
It meant that Stuart Atwell, the VAR, he in turn has to manually draw the lines and go back to where we were, and that took the time. And of course it was a subjective offside decision. Semenyo's second was ruled out before Man City eventually beat Newcastle 2-0. Chelsea host Arsenal in the other Carabao Cup semi-final first leg tonight live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. And in the latest instalment of golf's Civil War, John Rahm says he's sticking with Liv and won't be following Brooks Koepka back to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, man, I'm not planning on going anywhere. I wish Brooks the best. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm focused on the league and my team this year, and hopefully we can repeat champions again.
Live poster boy Bryson DeChambeau says he's staying on the Rebel Tour as well. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
How will the government's latest U-turn on digital IDs go down? And it's day 3 without water for 17,000 properties in Kent and Sussex. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Dry day for most of us, bright and cold. Rain across Northern Ireland though, moving into western Scotland. Wet across the far south this afternoon as well.
Good afternoon, everybody. 5 minutes past 12 noon. It is now officially Wednesday afternoon. It's a long day for Danny Murphy, who's in studio with us this morning, and then on co-commentary duty for talkSPORT tonight at Stamford Bridge. It is the Carabao Cup semi-final. First leg between Chelsea and Arsenal, and you'll hear Danny Murphy's dulcet tones on that one. Simon alongside me here, as always, as we head into Wednesday afternoon. I said earlier on, we're never afraid to tackle any subject on this show. I wonder where this is going to go. Take me back, Mr. Jordan, when you were in charge of Crystal Palace, when you had this wonderful football club, and you owned the club, and you were proud to do so. It was a decade in time, wasn't it? That you were at the top of the house. And in that time, how many different managers did you have?
8.
You had about 8 different managers, and one of those was Ian Dowie.
Indeed.
Interesting, because I don't know how Simon's going to react to this, but we'll see in the next few moments. Former Crystal Palace manager Ian Dowie, who Simon, I think it's fair to say, had these challenges with, was a guest on the Managers podcast, which is hosted by Mick McCarthy and Tony Pulis. And he was asked, Ian, about his relationship and about that fallout that he had with Simon.
Yeah, it probably did acrimoniously between me and him, but the shenanigans that went afterwards didn't need to happen, but that was just the nature of how it turned out. So we were never best friends. We had.
How do you look back on it, though?
I look back on it. I look back with a great deal of unbelievable. Listen, a great deal of affection, because there was so much. We had such a good period. Listen, he's a different way of thinking about things than I do.
Yeah.
So that's just what it is. And it's not right or wrong. And Simon's a very good communicator. You can see him on the radio. He's really good. But he, all I'd say, listen, we had some issues in the build up even to the playoff final.
Yeah.
So before the playoff final, that was resolved very late on. But for the most part, me and Simon never really fell out. It became late on, and that's what it was. So it doesn't anger me. I'm not an angry man. If you're an angry manager, I don't think it's going to work. You've got to be a bit thoughtful, But could I have done things different? I'm sure Simon would say yes, that's right, and I'd agree, because I was a young manager, so I would accept that on the chin. Could he have done things in a better manager? Yeah, I think he definitely could. So that's what it is.
So could Ian have done things differently? He says, yes, he probably could have. Could Simon have done things differently? Well, could you?
People can always do things differently. I mean, I saw that.
So what did the fallout comprise of? Why did you fall out?
Because Ian tells lies, as he's just done there. There was no controversy leading up to the playoff final at all. There was a newspaper article that Darren Lewis and John Cross wrote that the newspaper got sued over because they tried to indicate that the players hadn't had their bonuses paid. Players hadn't had their bonuses paid because they got their bonuses paid annually. So one particular player tried to create some mayhem and mischief by selling a story to Darren Lewis and John Cross that the newspaper got sued over. Ian got taken to court and got found guilty of fraud. So I don't really need to add much to that.
And why did you take him to court?
Because he lied. Because he decided to come to me. Our relationship wasn't a great relationship. And of all the managers that I've had work for me, I don't dislike Ian. I have no respect for him because I don't respect people that tell lies. And I don't respect people that don't have the respect for the opportunity that they were given. And I think it was all seeded in the initial appointment. When I appointed Ian from Oldham, I gave Ian a job on the basis of he came for an interview. Terry Bullivant interviewed him for me after going for a whole list of candidates and said, this is the guy for you. And when I met Ian, I liked him a lot, but I told him the conditions of the job. He said, well, can I have a negotiation with the salary? I said, no, you can't. This is the salary. This is what you're getting. You're coming from Oldham to Crystal Palace. The opportunity is yours, not mine. I'm giving you an opportunity. Did a brilliant job. Got us promoted. Had the players to do it because the previous manager didn't do well enough with the players that were given to him. He did. Got us promoted to the Premier League. And on the day of the playoff final that we won, his wife nudged me after we won the playoff final and said, that's going to cost you. Because that was all referenced back to the circumstances of how Ian joined the club. His father was a union leader. Everything was a bleeding argument with Ian. Ian was disrespectful and argumentative the whole time, which I tolerated. I tolerated as long as we were successful. I tolerated someone being disrespectful and dismissive and facetious and arsehole clever all the time.
But what did he do that incurred legal action by you?
We had after we lost the playoff semi-final to Watford in a poor form. You know, I knew that we'd got into the top
what was that, a couple of years later?
No, we got relegated in 2005. We kept Andy Johnson, despite the backdrop of every player wanting to leave because it was no longer their responsibility. He was an England forward. He told him saying, right, bought players, bought Clinton Morrison back, spent a load of players, had the best squad in the division, finished 5th in the league. But we settled at that position after about 10 games to go. Our form going into the playoff semi-finals was dreadful.
Right.
And I knew that we had trouble. And we'd beaten Watford twice in the league. It was assumed that we'd beat them easy. They smashed us 3-0 at home. I wasn't pleased with it. And I'd had enough of Ian's attitude. And so we had a massive argument, and I told him exactly what I thought, and I make no apologies for it. Because Ian's quite capable of saying his own piece, albeit he didn't string much of a sentence together in that interview. And frankly, us giving that show with an audience of 1.5 million on a show with Tony Pulis and Mick McCarthy, who I like, that had no research behind it, was poor. But notwithstanding that, Ian decided to tell me that listen, we're not getting on. I should depart. I said, I don't disagree. But there's a situation and you're under contract. I think we should probably try and work through and find a solution to it. No, I would like to go. I want to move up to the north. My family live up the north. I want to go to the north. I have a £1 million release clause in his contract. I said, well, listen, Ian, I don't want this direction of travel, despite the harsh words between us, but here we go. Right? If I allow you to leave, I do not expect you to rock up round the corner somewhere else. Now, unbeknownst to me, Ian was touting his mutton around every single football club that he could possibly get a job at, fueling the foxes, empowering the addicts, or whatever presentations we subsequently found out he was doing on his laptop, which was a company laptop, so we got to be able to interrogate it and find that the foolish idiot had been doing it on my time. So we took him to court. I sued him for fraudulent misrepresentation, and he got found out to be fraudulent because ultimately I released him from a contract with no compensation. And the next day he joins Charlton and that clown college. And their chairman, Richard Murray, and him got dragged into court, had to give evidence, and Ian got found guilty. Well, there's no debate. Ian can represent it the way he wants to now. There were no issues in the building. The only issue in the building was that Ian is a difficult sod. I made it so much easier. I even brought his own brother into the mix to try and find an interface because Ian and I couldn't communicate because he's difficult. We win a playoff final, and Ian decides he's going to go on holiday the next day. We're not going to do any player recruitment. We're not going to get ourselves started. We're not going to do a bus around the town. No, you're going to go on holiday. And me and Bob are going to sit here and do what you should be doing, which is help buy players.
But here's the thing, in the interest of balance, and we're all about balance.
There's only one story here, the truth and Ian Dowie.
Were you a difficult sod?
No.
Were you difficult to deal with?
No, I'm very clear.
You're very clear.
I'm very, very clear. I don't want to go anywhere near the training ground. I don't want to go anywhere near the players. I don't want to go anywhere near the manager. I want him to do his job. I expect him to have the same respect for me as he would expect to have from his players.
So you told him categorically, yeah, you can go to another club, but it's got to be a club way out of London. It's got to be in the north. And then this was how the local ITV News covered events following the unveiling of Ian Dowie at Charlton.
It was meant to be the moment Ian Dowie was proudly unveiled by his new employers. But this was a press conference that delivered something different.
Total misrepresentation and the terms of leaving Crystal Palace. You are joking. This is a writ to serve. Okay?
A court official attempted to serve a writ on Dowie from his former club, Crystal Palace, before being bundled unceremoniously out. Palace's chairman Simon Jordan furious that Dowie should pitch up at close rivals Charlton just 8 days after leaving Selhurst Park. Jordan saying he only let Dowie go, releasing him from £1 million compensation liability on the understanding the manager was moving to the northwest to be with his family. Dowie, though, denied any wrongdoing.
I had the conversation for 2 hours with Simon. And there was an awful lot said, and most of it was heard by my family. So for me, I know I can look at him in the eye and know that I've done this with integrity.
I'm amazed. I mean, I understood from the press conference last Monday, which I watched, that Ian was now free to talk. We contacted him the next day, and on the Wednesday we had an interview. I'm disappointed, but I think at the end of the day, Simon really is quite envious of what we've done up at Charlton, and I think it keeps getting to him.
See, Richard Murray was saying you were envious of what Charlton had done and what they were doing. I was getting to you.
I think you admire Charlton for the achievements at the time. And I don't think there's any envy. I mean, obviously, once upon a time, we housed them at Selhurst Park and gave them an opportunity because they were a travelling show. But the fact is that in this instance, I mean, it was fun, wasn't it? Who serves a writ in a press conference? It was a Lee Harvey Oswald moment. I remember you phoning me up from Sky. Doing an interview and telling me it was the worst day for football and trying to give me one of your little sanctimonious lectures. and I was like,
I remember that. I think you called me a pipsqueak.
Yeah, it was.
So they did pay you in the end?
Took him to court. Took him and that little twerp, who was the Charlton chairman at the time, into court, who told me he was going to sue me for 50 million quid for their relegation and never did anything. The fact of the matter is he went to court for fraudulent misrepresentation, which, by the way, in English law is one of the hardest cases to prove.
It is, yeah.
And we won. So that tells you all you need to know. Whether I was a demanding owner, why shouldn't I be a demanding owner? Why shouldn't I demand the very best? Why shouldn't I expect my manager to do well? You know, he had a wonderful guy that worked with him called John Harbin, who was an Australian rugby coach who mediated a lot of the situations because Ian was constantly wanting to cause an argument. He wanted to cause an argument in an empty room. All I wanted to do was give him the tools and let him get on with his job. And when somebody lies like that and gets dragged into a high court, and they can make all their smart-ass comments, your guys were co-conspirators at Sky because I couldn't get my court officer in. I phoned up Stuart and said, right, go serve this writ on me, we'll have some fun. So I'm sitting in Spain watching it with my margarita thinking this is going to be fun. Right? Watch Dowie's little face when he gets his little press conference reveal. Bang, here's your writ for fraudulent misrepresentation. And we couldn't get in because we didn't have the press accreditation. So I phoned up one of your guys at Sky and said, you get your cameras on the door and get my fellow in.
They let you in.
And they let us in as a result of it. That writ got served.
Do all wounds heal in time? I mean, has it all ended and that's it? Or if you had your time again, would you do exactly the same thing again?
Why not? But I mean, people said to me, why did you do it? Because it was wrong. You said to me, and you were trying to make a point that this was a bad day for football. My point was, yeah, it's a bad day for football because managers lie and they misrepresent and they get away with it. Dermot Desmond did it with Brendan Rodgers recently. I've had enough of it. There's a one-way transaction here. And people might say it's because you're an owner. In this instance, if Ian had said to me, I'm going to go to Charlton, I said, well, Charlton can pay the compensation. That's why Richard Murray was being facetious and clever because he thought he got away with one. That's why they got dragged into court and became a witness for the defence. You got Peter Varney on the stand from Charlton as a chief executive. You've got Richard Murray giving evidence. What you got to do with it? It's Ian Dowie that's being charged. Who picked up Ian Dowie's court bills? I wonder.
But to this day, you do still, and you would concede this, that you do still paint a picture that all owners are the good guys.
No, they're not.
And the managers do what they want.
No, they're not.
And they're there to be compromised.
All owners are not good guys. But there should be a balanced view, and there's not a balanced view. And my job, insofar as I have one, is to give an alternate view because most people haven't been an owner. We all hear from the managers. We all get their version of events. We all get their lionized commodity. Most of these managers are not what you think they are. They're not as resilient, as strong, and as charismatic and as leadership-orientated as you think they are. Most of them are snivelling cowards that when it comes down to it are running to you for help when they're not winning and then running away from you when they are winning because they're the only reason for it. So it's a difficult line to walk. But in this instance, I make no apology for it. I don't wish Ian any harm. No. I know he's a travails in his life, and I want him and his family to be happy and safe.
Well, I spoke to him at one of the playoff finals at Wembley. I spoke to him. We were talking about you, and he's very calm. And he's kind towards you as well with comments about you. Well, so I don't think he bears any grudges. But you would say you would do exactly the same thing again.
Totally, because Ian lied. And with due respect, I may be many things, but I'm not a liar. I may have made mistakes. I may have made judgment calls that I wish I could have looked at differently at certain times. I don't look at that differently. There's nothing that I did during the time of Ian Dowie. I gave him all the support, all the backing, all the people that he wanted, all the resources that he wanted. Tried to sign Michael Carrick, tried to sign Dean Ashton, players that didn't want to play for him. Tried to give him all the support, gave him a job, looked after him. I mean, looked after him. And there are things I could say about Ian Dowie that I would never say that he knows what I'm talking about. That would really compromise him. But I would never do that because I think there's a duty of care and respect that you have. And so when it came to his betrayal of me, I took it professionally, personally, because I think it was the wrong thing to do. And I had the balls to go, I don't think so, in the same way that I injuncted Steve Bruce and said to him, you're not walking out of the door to go to Birmingham. You're going to get an injunction, which made David Sullivan have to pony up some money to pay for him. I would do the same again because it takes more courage to do that. takes more energy to do that.
Did any manager leave you on an amicable basis?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Francis left me on his birthday. When he said, "It's my birthday, you'll find me on my birthday." I said, "Well, sorry, I could have put it in your card, P45." but Peter Taylor, I did say to him, I don't know how we'll get along without you, but as for Monday, we're going to try. And I don't think he appreciated that humour. But Neil Warnock, I love Neil Warnock. I got on with most of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There was a clear line. I never lied to them. I always did what I said I was going to do. And I asked them to do the same.
Yeah.
And Ian did.
But they all end up with a breakup.
None of this was for your titillation that you're watching Dowie getting set with
that
and you're sitting in Marbella enjoying a margarita.
Never turned the TV off. I just saw Lee Harvey Oswald get shot, did they? I thought, well, Server writ on Dowie, his little happy press conference with Charlton.
Oh, well. And here you and I working together after all these years.
20 years
That
ago.
Sky interview, you called me a pipsqueak.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 past 12. Let's talk some football with Danny Murphy, because Danny's on duty tonight. As I said, Chelsea host Arsenal tonight in the Carabao Cup semi-finals. First leg at Stamford Bridge. It's live on talkSPORT. And Danny, when you think of it, I mean, Arsenal fans will be well aware of this. Since winning the FA Cup in 2020, Arsenal under Mikel Arteta have drawn 2 and lost 6 of the 8 semi-finals across 3 separate competitions, scoring only twice. So they've got to try and buck this trend at this particular stage of this particular competition. This is Mikel pre-match.
Well, the more you are involved in these kind of games, the better, because it gives you a nudge. It brings the team a different kind of energy, and it gives you the sense that the objective is very, very close, and that's a massive motivation for everybody. So we know that we are 2 games away from playing a final. We have to go game by game, and the first one is Stamford Bridge, and we know we have a really tough opponent in front.
So, Danny, as far as this 2-legged semi-final is concerned, again, it's a question that I've probably asked you a few times in other moments. Can Arsenal go over the line here?
Well, they're in a wonderful position to do so. They've got an abundance of talent, great competition for places, strength in depth, more so than any other season. They're in their best possible place they've been to get over the line. They're actually favourites because Chelsea are on a poor run at the minute. So, yeah, of course they can. In fact, you'd probably go as far as to say if they don't, it would be a surprise to most.
Yeah.
Which is saying something when you're playing a team the quality of Chelsea. That's how good Arsenal are. I fancy them to get through, I really do.
If they do, will it move the needle to any large degree on him as to what you think of him?
Not really. I think what he's done so far has been admirable. He's done lots of good things. I think he has moved the club forward in so many ways. He's been backed and helped, of course, and they've been patient with him during the first couple of years when they were struggling a bit, but it's paid dividends. They're in a great position. I don't concur to this success always being linked to trophies in the first early stages. I mean, they have been competing at the top level now for a couple of years. Even in the Champions League last year, they were damn close to putting PSG out.
Yeah.
So it's a big season for him in terms of getting over the line. But no, not... I think, ironically, Arsenal fans' expectation is Premier League and Champions League, and would sacrifice the League Cup tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or today, if you like.
Yeah.
It seems strange considering they haven't won it for so long. But they've got the capability of winning 3 or 4.
Right. And of course, it's Liam Senior's Chelsea that they go in against, Simon. And that's significant in that Maresca is no longer around the place. And yet, little remnants of what we knew to be the case but didn't really know, but we're getting more information now. Mike Keegan in the Mail reports that Chelsea took the option of placing the club's head of medical, Bryce Kavanagh, in the technical area after Maresca repeatedly refused to substitute players returning from injury. Following re-injuries to 2 unnamed players, Chelsea took the step so Kavanagh could remind Maresca of the agreed times when those coming back from injury should be taken off to minimise the risk of a re-injury.
But that's what I told you, didn't I? I told you this week ago that there was a situation surrounding the medical team and the handling of certain players and the information that the medical team were relaying to Maresca, which resulted in an outburst and a tantrum from Maresca. I can understand a manager wanting to do what he wants to do, but you either resource the expertise and buy into the expertise, or you don't. And if you've bought into the expertise, but somehow you resist the idea that you think that interference is something you don't agree with, i.e. that the medical team shouldn't be giving you advice about whether it's Reece James or whichever player it was that they were talking about and the amount of utilisation of him.
Yeah, but putting the head of medical in the technical area...
Well, my experience...
That's a domain for Maresca, his assistant and his staff.
No, my experience of this is that, I mean, good managers, it's always the manager's responsibility to create a harmonious environment where all the team are on board together. Houllier was amazing at having all his staff on board with the same message. You would never know as a player that there was any contention between the medical and them regarding players coming back, how many minutes they're going to play. They would have those meetings behind closed doors. They'd make mature adults with good intellect and good at what they do. They come together, they make decisions, and then they go with it together.
Right.
And they sing from the same hymn sheet. That's good leadership. So that's the manager.
But with that in mind, Danny, can you believe where it got to with Chelsea? We understand that Chelsea had to send a letter to Maresca over his actions regarding players and their return from injury schedules.
Well, more fool them. More fool them for putting up with nonsense like that. Why would you put up with nonsense like that? The manager shouldn't. You don't need to sending letters to the manager about his treatment of players' rehabilitation. That should be something he's on board with, completely engaged with the medical team. And there is an argument, of course, that Maresca might have had no say in the recruitment of who's doing medical and go again. But then that's up to Maresca to go upstairs and say, I'm not happy to work with these people.
I mean,
it should never spill over.
Have you ever heard anything like that?
That's absolutely
right. How did it get to that?
Because everything evolves, and players now, because of the
sending a letter to the manager
to remind him of the agreement or the obligations that he's undertook. And to some extent, there's no different from any senior management getting a letter from their employers, because everyone reports to somebody at some point.
Is that to cover themselves more legally, though, do you think?
Well, I think it's probably to do something of that nature, which is preparing for the challenges they might have with him, because I think he was a highly temperamental manager. I think there were several instances over the period of time that he was there where he threw his toys right out of the pram about whether he was going to continue to manage the side. So the fact of the matter is that if you've got a medical resource that's been bought into, and everyone agrees that medical resourcing around players, the signing of players, the utilisation of players, I do agree that there's this over-reliance on red line data and things of that nature, which is almost like BS.
That's a separate argument.
BS baffles brains, and it gets a bit overcomplicated. But if you've agreed that there's a strategy of how you manage players, and because as a manager you get the ump about it and you decide that you're not going to do what was agreed, then what does an owner or the senior management do? Do they allow you to get away with it, or do they say, well, that's not in keeping with what we... And it's a balance between commercialising football and turning it into a more professional environment. When you buy a house, you don't just go, my mate told me it was good. You go and do the surveys and you structurally evaluate every aspect of it and you maintain it and then you sell it if that's what your business is. In the business of sport, your players are your assets and they should be now treated as such. So all the medical support around them, all the guidance, all the training ground, all the food, all the things that the managers do agree with. So why would a manager disagree with the idea that the medical resource is giving you sound advice about the longevity of a player for you to be able to utilise him more often and more regularly?
Well, also, is it
guidelines?
Also, is it coincidental that Maresca's questioning of these things and his ability to then start making decisions on his own came after some success? Has he deviated from what was the norm because of his self-importance?
Very possibly.
Some might say that the worst thing that happened to Maresca was winning that World Club Championship.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Incidentally, Danny, before we leave this, very briefly, why are we not talking about the T word and Arsenal? Or the Q word and Arsenal? You know where I'm going with it? The treble, quadruple. I remember mentioning it to Virgil van Dijk when they were going well and they won the league that season. And he was like, oh, God, let's not go into that territory.
Well, you need a lot to go well for you, a little bit of luck along the way. But as I said before, there's no reason why Arsenal can't win more than 2.
Do you think they will?
No. I always think there's a game that messes you up. I think it's really hard. I think they've got a great... I think they'll win the league.
Right.
And I think they're probably second favourites for the Champions League.
Clubs sending letters to managers. Owners sending writs to I mean, what? 12:30.
World's coming to.
After another excruciatingly long VAR stoppage, talkSPORT's Adrian Durham has this message for PGMOL.
The soul of football almost died earlier tonight here at St James Park while we waited 5 minutes for people in a room 300 miles away to study pixels of Nick Pope's backside to see if Erling Haaland was offside. This kind of decision isn't what VAR was designed for.
Erling Haaland was deemed to be interfering as he grappled with Malik Chow before Semenyo's second goal was disallowed. Pep Guardiola's upset with a perceived lack of communication.
Listen, if you have 5 minutes, 30 seconds, and 4 people in VAR don't realise if it's goal or not, you have to go to the referee. Yeah, the frame was in the moment, the touch of the ball, it was not offside. No, it's okay.
Pep's happy with the result, though. City are 2-0 up in their Carabao Cup semi. Eddie Howe called the defeat a body blow, but not fatal for Newcastle's chances of making another final. He also had a bone to pick with the officiating.
Probably like to focus more on the fact we had 10 men when they scored their first goal, because I just don't get that rule. JJ's gone down with a head injury. After getting elbowed in the head, and we get punished.
Chelsea are home to Arsenal live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m. Liam Rosenior has promised to speak to Raheem Sterling and Axel Disasi before deciding on their futures. Both, of course, were frozen out under Enzo Maresca. Now, the police chief who banned Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv from their game at Villa Park has said sorry to MPs for giving them false evidence. West Midlands Chief Constable Craig Guilford's blaming the use of AI.
Just gone 12:30 this Wednesday lunchtime. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live in talkSPORT, coming to you live, of course, on your TV, live on YouTube, live in so many different channels, so you can watch it whatever you really choose, Android, Google TV, even Prime Video. And I'm pleased about that because we're about to talk boxing. Whenever we talk boxing on this show, it gets a huge reaction. Yesterday, we had Agit Kabayel on the show, Simon. We will get to him in a moment as to what is next for him. But the news also came through yesterday that Moses Itoma, the big hope in the world of heavyweight boxing, he's an absolute wrecking ball of a boxer. He sustained an injury in camp, and therefore the show that was being dubbed the Magnificent Seven in Manchester later this month, January the 24th, has been rescheduled for March the 28th. And we looked at that and we noticed a big reaction to that, because many of you were asking us, well, why couldn't they just put it on as the Magnificent Six? Top boxing promoter Frank Warren joins us live. Frank, is that a relevant question? Was it even a consideration to put on not the Magnificent Seven, the Magnificent Six?
There were lots of connotations, Jim, as what we could have done, but the bottom line of all of it was it's a mess, because when you're looking at that type of show, which is all based upon 7 title fights taking place, headed up by a great fight with Moses and Franklin. Losing that, it was hard to replace. And, you know, you're never going to please everybody. So we thought the best thing to do under the circumstances was to reschedule it. And people, what they bought, if they want to go, they can retain their tickets. If they want a refund, we'll give it to them. But we just reschedule it for the 28th of March. And fighters that have trained over the Christmas, and we know it's very difficult for them, any of them are struggling financially, we'll make sure we look after them.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that, and I knew you would, Frank, but Nathan Heaney, the middleweight, he was set to face Graham Warburton on the card. He took to social media yesterday, you'll probably be aware, and Nathan was saying dropping your kids off at school only to have a phone call on the car to say the event that you have 2,000 plus tickets for, that you've sold, delivered and personally paid for, and deliveries to everybody, and then the show is cancelled 11 days before it. I'm devastated, he says. I've got a lot of apologising to do. Please be patient, as I've got hundreds of people to contact over the next 7 to 10 days, and thank you for your understanding. Nathan, quite rightly, had bought right into the fact that he was going to be a big part of the Magnificent Seven show.
Well, he was a big part, and he still is a big part. The fight's not been cancelled, it's been rescheduled. And it's difficult for people. You know, people have made arrangements to travel and so forth, and I get that and understand it. But as I say, you know, at the end of the day, we've considered everything. And also we had to talk to the TV, to the zone who are broadcasting it. And it'd been a matter of renegotiating as far as rights fees are concerned. And, you know, and if we could do a 6, if we could find another fight. It was just too convoluted. And as I say, we've apologised. It's not Nathan's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's what happens. Footballers get injured, sportsmen get injured, and that's what's happened with Moses. And Moses was was the one that we were headlining as the main fight on the Magnificent Seven.
I get the impression, Simon, that this was a show, I think Frank would back me up, that needed Moses Zatoma on it.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? A chain is as strong as its weakest link, and the weakest link in this situation was the headline. In terms of no disrespect to the circumstances, that ultimately, the headline, if it had been one of the other fights, Frank, would you have cancelled the event? If one of the other 6 fights had to have a situation where a fighter pulled out, you wouldn't have cancelled the whole event then, would you?
No, I don't think we would have.
So how do you insulate? Is there just no way? It's just a circumstance of the industry. There's no way to insulate yourself against a headline act falling away, because everything falls down once the headline falls away, doesn't it?
Well, that's the problem. Once the headline falls away, then it does. They're great fights. Magnificent Seven is a great concept, great title fights on there. However, all the media were concerned, the most, other than local media from where, for example, where Nathan or any of the other boxers come from, where they're focusing on the local hero. Most of the mainstream, including yourselves, any discussions we had, because talkSPORT were covering the event, it was all based upon Moses headlining it, and that's where we are. So, as I say, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, and apologies to everybody, and we will make it up to them.
Sure, it is one of those things, as you rightly say, it happens in the sport, happens in football. Of course, you just got to go on with it, Frank. Yesterday, Simon and I were talking to your man, Agit Kabayel, who stopped Damien Kaniba in the 3rd round to retain his WBC interim heavyweight title over in Germany at the weekend. He's a cracking guy, Frank Kabayel, as you know. He spoke well with us, and he described it inside the arena in Germany at the weekend. When he was asked, what's next for you, Agit? The chants went up, Usyk. Have a listen, Frank.
Yes, we train for this. Why not? He is also, I think he is now 39-year-old. I think this year, maybe he's 40. I think, why not? I'm younger, I'm fresher, and I come I give him a hard fight. Really, I think he's the best boxer in the heavyweight division right now. But I'm motivated. I think this is a good fight for the fans. He never lost in his career. I never lost in my career.
So, Frank, you're live with us now. Is this a fight, Agit Kabayel, Usyk, that you're looking to make?
We'd love to make it, and we've had discussions, and we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it's all going to be down to Usyk, and there are a lot of Ukrainians in Germany, so it'll be a massive sellout. We sold that show out. Ajik sold that show out in, I think it was less than a day. And the atmosphere was unbelievable. My son George, who was there, I couldn't go. I wasn't there because I'm still struggling with this bloody virus I've got. But my son George said it's the best atmosphere he's ever experienced at an event, as did a lot of people, experienced people who were out there, TV people from Queensbury. It was just an amazing atmosphere, and we know it'll go from strength to strength. But whatever happens, Ajit will fight again, probably in May or June. It'll be in a soccer stadium there. And I hope in the opposite corner will be Mr. Usyk.
Frank, isn't it slightly easier for you? I mean, you've got Fabio Wardley, who's got a WBO belt. You've got the WBC interim champion in Agit Kabayel, both under your stable. They're both under your, just not your jurisdiction, but under your guidance. You've got Usyk playing hide and seek with himself in America with Deontay Wilder. Isn't it easier for you to make a fight between Agit Kabayel and Fabio Wardley than chase the idea that Usyk might come and fight Agit or even Fabio? Because he's told you he's not going to fight Fabio. He'll probably have the same attitude towards Agit.
Well, I hear where you're coming from on that side. And the thing is, we haven't got to rush into it this week, that's for sure. So we'll see what happens. But there are a lot of options there. There's a Lawrence Okoli. He's also in a great position.
Joe Gallagher was saying that to me yesterday. He was saying that Agit Kabayel didn't mention Okoli at all because he wants to duck him.
No, Daniel Dubois. There's some great fights there to be made, and we'll make them. But for me, he wants to fight Usyk. Usyk is considered to be and is the best heavyweight out there. and he deserves it. He's the mandatory to him, and he deserves that opportunity.
But isn't he fighting Deontay Wilder?
Well, that's what the WBC have said that they do, but they haven't. That fight's not been announced yet, and I don't know whether they got the funding for it or not. But if they do, they do, and we'll plan accordingly. But if it doesn't happen, then the WBC will have to order the fight.
Okay, Frank. Arsenal tonight, Frank, at Stamford Bridge. What do you think? You got one foot in the final at the end of tonight.
Well, I fancy us. I mean, we've got quite. I know we got some more injuries, but we've had guys come back now. Gabriel's back. He's doing the business. Declan, I think, is an outstanding player. He's doing the business. We're just up front. It's just getting that bloody, the killer forward. What we need, the killer striker. It's funny. I watched last night watching the Man City game. What a good buy they've got there. What they've done. I mean, he scored 3 goals. Yeah. Or should have been 3 goals in 2 games. I mean, that stupid VAR nonsense again last night. I mean, it's like they're measuring diamonds or something. It's ridiculous. That's why the 3rd round of the FA Cup was so good, because we didn't get none of that nonsense going on. But,
Frank. But Frank, they arrived at the right decision last night. It took them 5.5 minutes, but they arrived at it.
I don't even agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. If it takes 5.5 minutes, it's wrong to start with, is it? What are they doing? It's totally ridiculous.
Are you in the office on your own, Frank? Do you need some Lemsip and honey?
I've got it here. I'm in the office. I've come in the office for today. It's my first day in here, and I'm looking at all this hot lemon, which I'm sick to death of. And I need to get out. I need a good shot of champagne. That's what I need to do.
Listen, you did well coming on with us and having a right good moan. Frank Warren with us live in talkSPORT.
Be there for Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
Yeah, you've ever fancied the chance of attending the Super Bowl? Well, now you have that chance. talkSPORT is giving you and a friend the chance to win tickets to the Super Bowl on Sunday, February the 8th, plus return flights to San Francisco, 3 nights accommodation and spending money. Here's how you can do it. Text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or the number to call 0343 418 7260. Lines close on the 22nd of January at 4 o'clock. And that's when you've got to answer your phone should it ring. 18 plus UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Full terms, conditions at talksport.com. Your chance to win. Text WIN to 83338 right now. What's the date? February the 8th. Yesterday was, or should I say Monday was quite a significant date, was it not? Because that's when Xabi Alonso departed Real Madrid after they lost the Super Cup final against Barcelona. That was that. And now Xabi Alonso, one time of Liverpool, is now in the market for a new job. And Graham Hunter, Spanish expert, joined Simon and myself yesterday to talk about Alonso and the kind of environment that he would wish to work in.
It's not about maturity. Xabi Alonso, throughout his life, as the son of a famous footballer, as the local hero, the local boy made good at Real Sociedad, as the legend of that Champions League final at Liverpool, as a title winner and a Mourinho lieutenant at Madrid, and then as a Pep Guardiola chosen footballer and title winner at Bayern Munich, has never had to kowtow to anybody.
Right.
And he is a very individualistic character. You might say, so if I'm backing your idea, you might say that he's unwilling to bend a little bit. He's less than flexible. But then I would agree, I would say so is Arteta, so is Pep Guardiola. If you choose maturity, that's where we're going to divide a little bit. And maybe I can persuade you that what you've got is a guy who's unused to ever in his life as a player or a manager having to manage upwards. And Simon, I'll close by saying, where else in the world, where else do you have to manage upwards as much as Real Madrid? He'll never have a situation comparable to managing upwards at Real Madrid again in his entire coaching career, because Florentino Perez is the most individualistic, probably the most successful, and certainly the most demanding man in world football.
Graham Hunter in great form with Simon and myself yesterday. Danny, you know Xabi Alonso. You certainly knew him as a player, because am I right, when you left and had gone to Tottenham, you played against him when he'd gone to Liverpool, is that true?
He came in just a week after I'd left, him and Louis Garcia. He was a brilliant footballer, really intelligent, not the most athletic, but didn't need to be because he had that. And the lads who I know really well, who were there with him, spoke really highly of him. And that doesn't always happen. In fact, very rarely. Very likeable by all accounts. A nice guy, good guy. Did things properly. And he started off his manager career really well. Maybe Madrid's come a bit too early, but how could he turn it down?
Slots there for the foreseeable future. Of course he is. But you would have to think the Liverpool boardroom will be watching the situation with interest.
Yeah, because that's what you should be doing, is always keeping an eye and abreast of what's going on around you all across Europe if you're a big club, ready for a contingency if something bad happens. But Slot's actually recovered from the poor spell quite well. They've been on I wouldn't say they've been playing brilliantly, but with the injuries they've got and the problems they've had, to be on a good 10-game, I think it is, unbeaten run, maybe 11.
Yeah.
I think they've stabilised. He's done all right. He needs to have a good second half to the season, but I wouldn't think there's any drastic thoughts of the hierarchy to think, right, we might be losing him.
Sure. Did you know Alvaro Arbeloa, who goes in now?
No, played against him as well.
Yeah.
But again, supposed to be a good guy, decent fella. He's done all right. Don't know that much about his management style, of course, because I don't know him, but they seem to have him in place really quickly, didn't they?
Well, they did. And because it's Real Madrid, Simon, the news then came through, reportedly, Jurgen Klopp, a candidate for the head coach position, if they're looking to appoint another new boss come the summer.
So is Arbeloa an interim then?
I don't think he thinks that, but certainly he's in there for the time being.
I think as Klopp's concerned, I know what you think, Simon, but if you are ever tempted to go back in management, you've been so successful at Liverpool, that Madrid would probably be one of the...
Well, he's limited himself by the things that he said, and I take him at his word that he's not going to manage again in English football, because he would only manage Liverpool. So where else are you going to go? He's eaten at the top table. There's only a few top table places to go.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich. I don't know whether there's any conflict there for him to go to Munich. I don't know what Klopp's going to do. He's been 18 months now. And, he came out of management. Sometimes, as much as we say this is a wonderful job, people do run their course.
They do, yeah.
They do run their course. And what people think is a wonderful job sometimes is not what people want to do for the rest of their life. He's now, 58, 59, 60 years of age. He's got plenty of money. He doesn't need to do it. And he's out of practice now. He's 18 months out of situation. I mean, if he would get back into a job, he'd get back into practice pretty quick.
I was going to say, it's Real Madrid, though. That's the thing.
Sure. It's also Real Madrid with the challenges that Alonso had.
Yeah.
Perez is no easy animal. Real Madrid is no easy beast to tame. And so does he need that at this stage in his career? Does he still, if he has the fire, then he will need it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the fire anymore and it's gone out, then he won't.
Jurgen Norbert Klopp is 59 in June. 59.
Jim, your fire hasn't gone out, has it? Still going.
The flames sometimes need dampened down a bit, but no, the fire is still going. I'm delighted to say. Danny, good luck tonight. Chelsea, Arsenal. You're here, Danny Murphy, on co-coms tonight. The Carabao Cup semi-final, first leg between these two London giants, and Danny is on duty. As for you, you're going to serve a written on me at any time later today?
Or for impersonating a broadcaster.
Simon and I will be back tomorrow at 10. In the meantime, it's 1 o'clock this Wednesday lunchtime.